Part 167. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei-Shi Niang. Chapter 1662. At around 10 o'clock the next morning, the payment for 10 cabinets had arrived. Zhao Zhigang asked Su Qiaxin what to do next. Su Qiaxin said, just make those 5 cabinets, call them one day in advance, and tell them that now you have to pay for 5 containers to pick up the goods, and you have to make up for the 10% that was originally deducted. Otherwise, you won't even send the container truck. If we really don't ship the goods, we won't worry about them filing a lawsuit. According to the contract, there is no such thing as taking payment to pick up the goods, Xiao Li said from the side. I'm not afraid, Su Qiaxin said. If we really have to go to court, they will deduct money unreasonably. To prove that the clothes sold have quality defects, they will have to provide proof provided by the owner of the goods, that is, Walmart. Walmart has been selling those goods for a long time. How can they prove that the goods they are selling have quality problems? And they knew in advance that there were quality problems. Isn't this causing trouble for themselves? Their demands, he can't even open his mouth. It's impossible for him to win this kind of lawsuit. On the contrary, we may win, but we can't afford the time. Xiao Li and Zhao Zhigang both nodded, and Zhao Zhigang asked, then what if they can't take the money? Or they refuse to take it, what should we do? I knew they couldn't afford the money for this big carrot, Su Qiaxin said. That's very simple. You don't have to deliver the goods. In that case, the delivery date will be missed, and the customer will cancel the order, Zhao Zhigang asked. Yes, then just cancel the order, Su Qiaxin said. Zhao Zhigang, you don't want to ship the goods without money, do you? You know that there was such a turmoil in the front, and if you don't sign a new order later, people will be wary of you. Well, as long as these 5 cabinets are sent out, your money will be wasted and you will never get it back. Zhao Zhigang said, if we don't deliver the goods, won't all the goods be kept in the factory and become inventory and become garbage? Su Qiaxin shook her head and said, don't be afraid, I will have a solution when the time comes. Zhao Zhigang asked what the solution was, but Su Qiaxin didn't say anything. He just warned Zhao Zhigang, remember, don't be too early, and don't be too late. Just call them the day before shipment and put forward your request. Zhao Zhigang said, what if they agree to our request and transfer all the money that was previously deducted? Then you're not rich, you can just continue to deliver goods. Su Qiaxin laughed, with such a good price, and a company that is willing to pay for delivery every time, why don't you continue to cooperate with him? But don't, it's such a beautiful thought. Zhao Zhigang sighed and said, I also know it's impossible. So you have to listen to me, do you understand? Su Qiaxin said, and Zhao Zhigang nodded. Oh. Su Qiaxin said, by the way, Zhao Zhigang, if they ask you to sign a new contract during this period. I know, I'm trying every possible way to hold them back, Zhao Zhigang said, and Su Qiaxin and Xiao Li both laughed. On their way back to Hangzhou, Xiao Li and Su Qiaxin said, I think if they are not stupid, they will know that they should find another escape route when they go back tonight. Su Qiaxin is right, but for an order as big as Walmart's, you can't just change factories if you want. You can't just switch an order to more than a dozen factories. I guess they will look around and finally find ours. These factories. We still need to inspect the factory, which will take at least a month, Xiao Li said. Yes, what Zhao Zhigang and the others are making now are products that are already on sale. If they are not supplied this month, they will be out of stock. Walmart definitely doesn't want this to happen, Su Qiaxin said. Su Qiaxin and Xiao Li took turns driving, and also took turns calling the factories below them, telling them that a company called Minjao Foreign Trade Company in Hangzhou might contact you in the next 2 days. They are looking for a processing factory. You can pick them up. As soon as I get the phone, I'll do whatever I want. The next day, the factory in Haining called Xylee and said that they had contacted her. Xylee smiled and said, "You know what to do, right?" I know, find a way to delay it," the other party said. After hanging up the phone, the second and third factories called them and said that the foreign trade company had come to contact them. Soo Ki-oksun and Xylee told the factory to do as we told you. Lee Minjeo, the boss of Hangzhou Minjeo Import and Export Co., Limited, has been a little anxious these past 2 days. He has a strong uneasiness in his heart, feeling that something may go wrong with the big order in his hand. That country guy has been avoiding me every day and has been refusing to sign the subsequent agreement with him. He must have his own ideas. Lee Minjeo is not a fool. He knows that the last time someone played a trick on him, there will be such a result. The order I will take may be on hold. Lee Minjeo was a little dissatisfied. Damn it, foreign trade companies have always been holding the hands of factories. How could they be led by factories like now? But when the other party came out like this, I really didn't have any better way. A perfect plan was about to break down. I suffered for others, but I didn't expect that in turn, I would suffer for myself. You must know that this is an order from Walmart. Walmart's orders are not released everywhere. In addition to the low price, there is also a preliminary factory inspection. Zhongshan Lao's factory originally made Target, and they have been asking for it. They are very strict and have experience. They understand the entire factory inspection process thoroughly, so they can pass the factory inspection in one go. At this time, if he tells Walmart that the original factory is no longer willing to accept the order and needs to find a new factory and re-inspect the factory, and there is no way to continue to execute the orders that have been placed, Boss Lee himself knows what kind of consequences he will face. Walmart's goods are precisely calculated in terms of logistics time. All goods are diverted as soon as they arrive in the United States and then put on the shelves. If you stop now, it will take at least a month, which means they have no place to replenish the goods. How could it be allowed? The only way is to find a new factory and place the order first. If the factory is not inspected, wait until the goods are shipped. As long as there are no problems with the goods, even if their buyers find out that the factory has been changed, there will be no problem. Relations, factory inspections are meant to fool human rights groups and the media, and Walmart is not that noble. What these buyers are most worried about is not being able to receive the goods. They are also afraid of taking responsibility and will turn a blind eye. The worst they can do is take them to holiday in hotels and saunas more times. These white-skinned pigs, arriving in China is like opening up a foreign country, and the integration is really fast. Boss Lee stood up and walked out of his office. When people in the office hall outside saw him coming out, those who were still joking and gossiping quickly changed their expressions to serious expressions and sat down. Straight up, even though there is nothing to type, my fingers are tapping on the keyboard, looking very busy. Everyone knows that the boss is in a bad mood these days, so don't mess with him. Boss Lee stood there and watched for a while. He felt angry when he looked at his subordinates. He spent so much money every month to support them. At the critical moment, no one could help him. Boss Lee raised his voice and asked, "How is your contact with the factory going?" "I'm almost done here," someone answered. "It's the same here." "I'm going to go there tomorrow," someone else answered. Someone else said, "The factory here thinks our prices are too low." "Boss, can we?" Boss Lee ignored him, knowing in his heart that he wanted to deal with the mountain guy. If he did it again, Boss Lee snorted, "You'd better hurry up." After saying that, he turned and went back to his office. The moment he closed the door, he seemed to hear the people outside let out a collective sigh. Boss Lee returned to his desk and sat down. He picked up the phone and dialed the country guy Zhao Zhigang. The phone kept ringing, but no one answered. He thought about it and called Zhao Zhilong again. Zhao Zhilong heard that it was him. said angrily. Mr. Lee, I no longer have the right to take care of the order matter. I'm in the factory now and I can't even talk. After Zhao Hailong said angrily, he hung up the phone. Boss Lee sat there, staring at the phone blankly. He almost had a premonition that when the 5 cabinets were about to be shipped, the countryman would definitely make him pay the money before shipping. This kind of thing often happened in this way. If it happens once, there will be a second time. As long as you start to be passive, you are destined to be passive all the time. The most annoying thing is that now, I have almost nothing to hold them back, and all the payments that should be made have been settled. Boss Lee himself doesn't know why he is so passive after all these things. The only bargaining chip he has now is that he knows that the other party's 5 containers of goods are still being produced, and they will definitely not be willing to do this. All goods become inventory. That's all he could bet on. But then, Boss Lee felt that the chips in his hand were getting less and less. He seemed to have been forced to the wall and could not move. The factories that his men were looking for were always almost there, faster and faster, but they just didn't exist. When someone could be confirmed, Boss Lee couldn't help himself and called them himself. They were very enthusiastic on the phone, but none of them were sure. Yesterday, Boss Lee finally couldn't hold it in any longer and ran to a factory in Haining. The boss of that factory was very enthusiastic. He heard that it was such a big order from Walmart and he was quite interested, but he said that there was no way. The schedule is already full. I'll start taking your orders in August, okay. When he visited the workshop, Boss Lee became colder and colder the more he looked at it. He saw that the products being made in the parking space were all Target products. Boss Lee asked, "Is this half an acre of land?" The other party said yes. At that moment, Boss Lee felt that he was already dead in his heart. He knew that this factory would not accept their orders in August. Half-acre field is very famous in the industry. Everyone knows that they design their own products, so the price is higher than other companies. Their factory price is also very good, and they and Target seem to have some kind of relationship. Due to the special relationship, no matter how hard other companies try, they can't take away Target's orders from them. For the factory, the most important thing is that no foreign trade company is procrastinating in settling payments now. It only has half an acre of land. After the goods are shipped, you will issue the VAT invoice immediately. You don't have to rush them, they will do it themselves. Transfer the money to you. This is also well known in the industry. It turns out that Zhongshan guy was selling goods from half an acre of land. Later, Boss Lee met that idiot Zhao Hailong and used the trick of raising the order price, so he poached their factory. Boss like Haining, Deo or slightly if it's a bit old, you won't be able to dig it out. Back at the company, Boss Lee roared at the salesman. Are you humming blind? You don't know that they are doing something like half an acre of field? You can poach someone once, and a second time? This is what you said, and the negotiation is almost over? I don't know that they push it. August, are you perfunctory? Open your humming eyes. This salesman got out. After a while, the other two came in and said hesitantly to Boss Lee. I just asked, the factory we contacted is also doing work on half an acre of land. Mr. Lee, do you want to continue to contact us? Get out, Mr. Lee was furious and cursed. Thank you to book friend 202005271505190557 for the reward of 2 fishes at 3 o'clock in the middle of the night. Thank you Juju, the world-minded home cat, book friend 2018052311285765, the sinful orchid finger, Gu Chan, Lin Does Hafu, Zipanjiang 1, Hu, Love Purple Only, Gongshan Wooden Sword, 999 Little Stupid Cow 999, Cup Guy API, Small Fish Daddy, Light and Thin, Hydrogen Oxide Disinfection Knowledge Bureau, Salted Fish Sewer, At Invisible Man, 55 Hong, 0 HJKLG, my heart sinks for you, Hurricane 0669, ZixEZI, Book Friend 201912170332388847, Tiger, Cheng Shanming, Bronze, 1890-798-3117, monthly tickets. For Zongkai 727, and How, Free Rain and Clear Sky, Book Friends 201806250713420028, Book Friends 202009031727593111. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you all good health. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1663. As the shipping time got closer, boss Li Minjao kept waiting for something to happen. That afternoon, the phone on his desk rang. He picked up the phone and heard Zhao Zhigang. The sound of, "Hello, hello, are you Mr. Li?" Boss Li recognized who the other party was and shouted, "Hey, Mr. Zhao, this is so rare. Why did you remember to call me?" Boss Li was a little proud when he said this. He concluded in his heart that Zhang Shankuo called him at this time. He must not be able to hold back. Tomorrow's 5 cabinets will be released, and the new order has not been signed. He will continue to his factory. It is very likely that work will be suspended, so he only thought of calling himself today. Zhao Zhigang said, "There are still 5 cabinets, and they will be released tomorrow." Boss Li is right, my shipping schedule has been set for tomorrow. Mr. Li, I'm calling to tell you that if the goods are to be shipped tomorrow, you should pay for them. Otherwise, we won't even send the container truck to avoid running away in vain. I won't be responsible for this. Shipping fee, Zhao Zhigang said. Li Minjao was stunned for a moment and asked, "What do you mean, Mr. Zhao? It's not interesting. I just informed you in advance that if the goods are shipped tomorrow, I will pay for the 5 containers, and the original 10% deduction will also be paid. Is there nothing wrong with you, Mr. Zhao?" Li Minjao understood and asked. "It's you who are at fault. It's you who keep talking nonsense. It's very simple here, just follow the contract," Zhao Zhigang said. When Li Minjao heard this, he suddenly became angry and cursed, "You, is there any money in the contract to pick up the goods?" "You," Zhao Zhigang retorted, "there is no money in the contract to pick up the goods, but every time the payment is delayed and the payment is withheld for no reason, you are the one who breached the contract first." "Then there's no need to go out," Boss Li shouted loudly. Zhao Zhigang agreed, "If it doesn't come out, it won't come out. I've already recorded it. It's you who won't let it go out." After Zhao Zhigang finished speaking, he hung up the phone. Boss Li was holding the phone in his hand. A rapid beep sound came from the phone. He raised the phone and threw it on the desk. Li Minjao never thought that Zhao Zhigang would tell him such a thing when he called him at this time. The payment for the 5 containers needed to be cancelled before agreeing to ship. Boss Li had thought of it, but Zhao Zhigang actually asked to make up for the 10% withheld. This was something that Boss Li never thought of and could not do. Things. You must know that there are more than 50 containers of goods that have been shipped, and each container is 10% replenished, which is a lot of money. If the replenishment is completed, Boss Li's company will be closed down. The price in the contract was so high at that time, which was originally used to lure them into taking the bait. Boss Li never thought for a day that he would pay them so much money. Someone knocked on the door, and Boss Li said angrily, "Come in." The person who came in was the document clerk from their company. She asked Boss Li, "Mr. Li, the freight forwarder asked us how long it will take for the container truck to arrive at Zhongshan tomorrow." "We'll talk about it later," Boss Li said. However, the freight forwarder said that if container trucks need to be arranged, they must be arranged early, because this time we need 5 trucks. Will you die if you wait a little longer? Lee Minjao glared at the ticket clerk, who said oh and retracted his head. Lee Minjao sighed and kept rubbing his temples with his hands. He was angry, but the matter was not resolved. If these 5 cabinets can't leave tomorrow and miss the shipping date, then it will definitely not be another anger. It can be solved. Lee Minjao sat blankly for more than 10 minutes. After thinking for a while, he picked up the phone on the table and dialed. The phone rang twice before he was picked up, and Zhao Zhigang's voice came. Which one? It's me, Lee Minjao, boss Lee said. Zhao Zhigang didn't ring on the other end of the phone, so Lee Minjao continued, Mr. Zhao, we are all adults now. Don't get angry. Just ship the goods tomorrow and I will pay you the payment the day after tomorrow. Is that okay? No, Zhao Zhigang flatly refused. Okay, you are cruel. How about this, Mr. Zhao, I will give you the payment for 5 containers, and you will ship the goods normally. Okay, Lee Minjao said. No, Mr. Lee, I think I made it very clear on the previous phone call that you must call me even the 10% that has been deducted, Zhao Zhigang said. Mr. Zhao, your request is too much. You know, Walmart's price itself is impossible to reach that price. Oh, really? Since you can't reach that price, what's going on in your contract? You wrote the contract, not us, right? Lee Minjao was speechless. He couldn't say, I was just going to lie to you. He wanted to get angry, but he also felt that the relationship between him and Zhao Zhigang was still tied by a very thin thread. As soon as he got angry, the thread would snap. The problem is that his current relationship with Walmart is also tied by a thread. Those white-skinned pigs cannot recognize each other. As long as the shipping date is missed, their relationship will be broken with a bang. Lee Minjao pressed his temples with his hands, took a deep breath to calm himself down, and said slowly. Mr. Zhao, we have been working well together for such a long time. I wonder if we can't ruin our harmony over such a trivial matter, okay? Since it is a minor matter, why didn't Mr. Lee solve this minor matter? Zhao Zhigang said. Also, you have always been good to me for such a long time, but I have never felt that my life has been easy. If a QC comes to your company, I will swallow my anger and support you like a grandfather. Will my life be easy? Mr. Zhao, I will criticize him immediately, but you have a lot of people, so don't argue with these villains. I'm not an adult, I'm just a villain. I like to settle accounts first, Zhao Zhigang sneered. I know it's not okay if money is deducted for no reason. Mr. Lee, there's no need to say anything else. As long as you call me the money, and I'll make sure your goods are shipped, otherwise, you don't have to call me anymore. After Zhao Zhigang finished speaking, he hung up the phone. He let out a long breath, knowing that this time he hung up not only the phone, but also the relationship between him and Mr. Li. If Mr. Lee really didn't exist today with payment, he had no way out. He could only watch 5 containers of goods being piled in the factory and turned into inventory. Thinking of 5 containers of goods turning into inventory, Zhao Zhigang felt a little guilty. Although Suki-oxen told him that she had a way, Zhao Zhigang thought about it. Their most likely way is to sell these clothes on Amazon. When will it be sold? Moreover, at least the trademark needs to be dismantled piece by piece and replaced again, which is a big project. The next day, Zhao Zhigang and Lee Minjao were both sitting in the office, waiting for each other's compromise. In Zhao Zhigang's case, it was because Suki-oxen had repeatedly told him that he would insist even if he didn't insist, even though the warehouse kept asking questions. He couldn't even answer whether the goods would be shipped today. In Lee Minjao's case, he knew that Zhao Zhigang had absolutely no intention of giving in, and even if he wanted to pay now, he couldn't pay such a large amount of money. The only thing the two people are betting on now is that the other party dares not to let 5 containers of goods not come out, so Zhao Zhigang thinks that if he can't come out, Lee Minjao will have no way to explain to the customer. Lee Minjao thinks, if Zhao Zhigang doesn't dare to let so many goods become inventory. Time passed little by little in the stalemate between the two of them. At first, the documents kept coming, and Lee Minjao said that the freight forwarder called and asked if today's goods could not be shipped out, otherwise they would withdraw from the warehouse. Every time, he was stared at coldly by Lee Minjao and scared away. In the afternoon, the freight forwarder began to call Lee Minjao directly. Lee Minjao simply unplugged the phone line on the desk and put the phone on silent. He watched the phone flashing and blinking, and the freight forwarder's number went off. In the evening, Lee Minjao saw a new number start to flash, and he knew that it was over, the death notice had arrived. This number belonged to the buyer of Walmart in Shanghai. Lee Minjao picked it up and didn't know what to say. If he didn't answer, he seemed to see this white-skinned pig picking up a red pen and putting a check mark on his name. The sky outside was getting darker little by little. Zhao Zhigang locked the door of the office and sat there. Kaidi came and knocked on the door and left. Zhao Zhilong came and knocked on the door and left. Liangfen also came and knocked on the door and left. They came to him with the same purpose, and that was to ask, can the goods be shipped out today? Zhao Zhigang's phone was also on silent, and the phone went off in the ambiguous light. He didn't answer it until he saw Su Qiaxin's call coming in, and he quickly picked it up. Zhao Zhigang, how are you? Has the goods been shipped? Su Qiaxin asked. Zhao Zhigang was almost crying, but he couldn't say anything. It's okay if it doesn't happen, Su Qiaxin said. The person named Li doesn't have a phone number either. It's over. This batch of goods will become inventory, Zhao Zhigang sighed and said. I know, Su Qiaxin said. There was no movement for the next 3 days. Zhao Zhigang and his factory also stopped for 3 days because there was no work. On the first day, everyone felt that it was a rare day off and they were happy to relax. On the second day, there was no new fabric coming in, even the cutting bed. Many people couldn't sit still. The cutting table was not cutting, which meant that they still had no work to do on the third day. On the third day, the cutting table was still not cutting, so everyone started talking about it. Many people said that Mr. Zhang was punishing us. Zhao Zhigang was very anxious, but he had been embarrassed to call Zhang Chen. He didn't know what Zhang Chen was thinking. Since he asked himself to stop, the boss always had a reason to stop him. Unable to bear it anymore, she called Zhang Chen and told him that work here had been suspended for 3 days. Zhang Chen was shocked and asked, don't Xiaoli and the others have any arrangements to go on? No, Liangfen said. Okay, 2 points, don't worry, I'll let Xiaoli and the others arrange it right away, Zhang Chen said. Zhang Chen called Xiaoli, and Xiaoli came in. Zhang Chen scolded, Zhao Zhigang has been parked there for 3 days, do you know? Xiaoli said she knew. Why don't you make arrangements to survive even if I know you? Zhang Chen asked. Qiaxin won't let me, Xiaoli said. Zhang Chen picked up the phone on the table and called Su Qiaxin, asking her to come over immediately. Su Qiaxin said, okay, boss, I'll be right over. But Su Qiaxin didn't come right away. Zhang Chen and Xiaoli waited for her for 10 minutes, but they didn't see her figure. Zhang Chen cursed, what the hell? Xiaoli walked outside and called upstairs, Qiaxin, Qiaxin. Su Qiaxin responded, come on. Su Qiaxin finally arrived. Zhang Chen stared at her sullenly. Su Qiaxin chuckled, boss, are you talking about the order from Zhao Zhigang? I just finished it. Zhang Chen was surprised and asked, what order? The order is for them, from Walmart, Su Qiaxin said. Zhang Chen was surprised and asked, what's going on? Su Qiaxin and Xiaoli couldn't help it anymore and burst into laughter. Su Qiaxin said, boss, you have been living in the United States for half a month. Do you think I have been idle? Didn't I tell you a long time ago that the buyers at Walmart are old friends with me? Grandma, they dug my factory. I won't poach their customers directly. Suki said, took out a page from the stack of paper in his hand, took it to Xylee, and said to her, "Let them send out the 5 cabinets that have been made immediately." When Zhang Chen was about to say something, Suki said, "Boss, you don't have to say anything. We take orders from Walmart, and I promise it won't affect Target. If we don't take them, others will take them. Besides, that damn Jessica is you, the woman of my dreams is also my friend, don't worry, I won't mess with her. Thank you Zuman Shanran for the reward. Thank you Jackie for learning to sing, I am 48 years old, Evergreen Yan Dottie, Lao Shenza Sang, Ba Liang, Lu, Crush Killer VIP, Big Guy, Book Friends 201812111919066728, Ayaka Gu Chan, Ho Ho, Fish Eating Brother, Look at the Landscape, Sky Racer, Huanyu Len Muo, Dong Long Dong, Zi Zhang said, Hu, Book Friends 201811241834233518, He Shi Yitan, Yuingzi, The Chair in the World, WXD 121's monthly ticket. Thanks for all the votes and reading. Have a good evening everyone. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1664. Zhang Xiangbei stayed at home for more than 10 days. When Zhang Chen went back one night, Lao Zhang quietly called him aside and asked him mysteriously. Do you feel that Bai Bei is a little strange? What's wrong? Zhang Chen asked. I asked him to make models with us, but he refused to do it. He likes to accompany the 2 old ladies all day long, going to the wholesale market and the vegetable market. Where can any man like to do this kind of thing? Lao Zhang asked. Zhang Chen said, he is really bored and doesn't have much to do. He went to the United States at such a young age, and he didn't have many classmates or friends in Hangzhou. It turned out that he had been following Xiangnan, and Xiangnan went to Yongcheng. He was a good friend of his junior high school classmates. There is only one Sun Xiangyang. Sun Xiangyang is still in class and has no holidays. He wants to learn boxing from Xiao Wu, but Xiao Wu has been very busy and has no time at all. Lao Zhang was right to think about what Zhang Chen said, but he still felt that it was not a good thing for a boy to follow an old woman to the vegetable market. Lao Zhang said, even if this is the case, he should follow us. Here, you see, there are all kinds of jobs like carpentry, fitter, lathe, painter, and welder. Boys should not like to do this. Zhang Chen said with a smile, I'm still worried that he won't learn to paint. What's the use of worrying? Lao Zhang rolled his eyes at him, thinking he was unreasonable. 2 days later, when Zhang Chen came home again, Lao Zhang pulled him aside and said to him happily, do you know what Bai Bei did today? Following 2 old ladies to the wholesale market and vegetable market again, Zhang Chen asked. No, Bai Bei followed us to the Peach Blossom Spring today. Don't tell me, he can learn all the farm work like making ridges, digging trenches, planting vegetables, and fertilizing. He can do it decently. His grandpa and I couldn't believe it, but he said he would go with us tomorrow, Lao Zhang said excitedly. Zhang Chen said, are you satisfied now? Of course, it's our inheritance at first glance, Lao Zhang said. Zhang Chen burst into laughter, then he doesn't even have to go back to the United States. He's doing such good farm work. He should follow his grandfather and go back to Chongqing to become a farmer. Lao Zhang sighed, turned around and walked away, ignoring Zhang Chen. Zhang Chen said it didn't matter, but secretly he also noticed that Zhang Xiangbei was weird. Zhang Chen asked him not to go to the company or the construction site with him. When it came to going to the oil painting studio, it was even more, as if he wanted to chop off his head. He immediately ran away. Zhang Chen saw him hanging out with the four old people all day long. He was not bored at all. He was both pleased and a little sad for Zhang Xiangbei. What was gratifying was that the old people must be very happy like this. What was sad was that this daily stroll farming and growing vegetables are not things that a person of Zhang Xiangbei's age should love to do. If his life is so boring and uninteresting every day, why would he come back from the United States? Fortunately, such days passed quickly. Sun Xiangyang was on vacation, Zhou Ruyi was also on vacation, and then Zheng Xingxin also came back from Beijing for vacation. The four of them made an appointment to go to Yongcheng together to see Xiang Nan and the others play. Zhang Chen drove the four of them there. He also wanted to visit the troupe. He had promised Xiang Nan that he would help them come up with more ideas for the stage design of the new play. This time, Zhang Chen did not stay at the Huanglong Moonbei Hotel, but took Zhang Xiangbei and the others to live in Latong Villa next to the Western Zhejiang Technical School. The troupe had moved to the Western Zhejiang Technical School, so Zhang Xiangbei and the others it only takes 5 or 6 minutes to walk from the hotel. The hotel is named Shanzhuang, but it is actually on the riverside. When you open the window, you can see the clear water of Xianan River outside. If you live on the first floor, it can be said that you can reach out and touch it. The troupe has no performance obligations this summer, and its daily job is to arrange new plays from 8:30 to 11 o'clock in the morning and from 2:30 to 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Most of the young actors in the troupe, except Xiang Nan and others, have families. In addition to arranging new plays, they also have to go home to cook. Fortunately, the dormitory has now been moved to the West Zhejiang Technical School, and the conditions are better than those in Wu. The troupe is a little better. Zhang Xiangbei and the others are here. Xiangnan stays with Zhou Ruyi and Zheng Xingxin at Latong Villa every night. At noon, they eat in the hotel restaurant or the theater troupe's canteen. In the evening, Xiangnan drives them home to eat. Otherwise MRS-10 will have objections. Every morning at 6:30, when Xiang Nan got up, Zhou Ruyi and Zheng Xingxin followed them stupidly, and the three of them walked to the Zhejiang Technical School together. When they arrived at the riverside, when Xiang Nan was babbling to the river, the two sat in the shade of the tree next to them, leaning against the trunk and continuing to sleep. There was a row of people here babbling, and they were still sleeping soundly. Xiang Nan smiled and cursed, "Why are you getting up? Can't you sleep in the room for a while?" The two of them shook their heads and said that we are best friends and we must live and die together. At 8 o'clock, Zhang Xiangbei and Sun Xiangyang came wandering over, carrying flat breads, deep-fried dough sticks, soy milk and fried steamed buns in their hands. Zhou Ruyi laughed when she saw them and said, "Are you here to live and die together?" The two men nodded, and Zheng Xingxin cursed, "We died more than an hour earlier than you. Then what's the matter? If you die early and die later, it's not death anyway," Sun Xiangyang said. Xiang Nan and Zhou Ruyi laughed wildly, and Zheng Xingxin rolled his eyes at Sun Xiangyang. There were several other young actors hanging out by the river with Xiang Nan. Zhang Xiangbei and Sun Xiangyang bought a lot earlier, and Xiang Nan invited everyone to eat together. Several other people laughed and said to Zhang Xiangbei, "What do you think is the best thing to do? It's good to come every day, so we don't have to go to the cafeteria for breakfast." "That's right," someone else yelled, "it would be better if the licking dog is there too, then it will be even more lively." Xiang Nan glared at the person who said this, and the others burst into laughter. The licking dog is talking about Xiahua. When Xiahua comes, he usually appears in the rehearsal hall in the afternoon, carrying two large wide-mouth thermos bottles with various ice creams in his hands. In the rehearsal hall, the actors who are sweating profusely stop when they see him. The rehearsal crowd gathered around and shared the ice cream before continuing the rehearsal. The sullen director wanted to get angry every time he saw it, but Xiaohu smiled and handed him the ice cream, which made him unable to get angry. It's a pity that licking dog hasn't been here these 2 days. Everyone had a lively breakfast and walked to the rehearsal hall together. When they arrived at the rehearsal hall, Zhang Xiangbei and Zhou Ruyi sat on the ground against the wall, either reading, playing game consoles, or taking a nap. At first, they were still sitting upright. Within 20 minutes, he started to stagger around. In the first 2 days, they were still interested in watching Xiang Nan and the others rehearse, but after 2 days, they realized that the rehearsals were really boring. They could memorize the lyrics by ear. Rehearsing for drama actors is just like training for athletes. It is really a boring thing. They just do those actions, say those lines, sing those lyrics every day, repeat it over and over again, until the actor's brain goes numb. Began to doubt life, and the next day, it was still the same, doubting life again. The purpose of rehearsal is to show your good side again and again, then fix it and rehearse it over and over again, turning it into a kind of physical memory and conditioned emission. Only in this way, no matter what your physical condition or mood is today, you will be able to go on stage. Only when you don't make mistakes can you show your level and be consistent. Although that emotion is fake, you are always full of emotions once you are on stage. Then, everyone's performance is brought together and becomes a collective subconscious, just like participating in a team competition in gymnastics. If one person's performance is wrong, it will bring about the overall failure. Rehearsal day after day is to minimize this possibility. A good actor, through rehearsal, can switch between me and not me in an instant. The two actors were yelling and almost fighting when they were off the stage. They showed themselves vividly, but as soon as they got on stage, they immediately became a pair of close lovers. Although they were still thinking about strangling each other to death, their faces were already full of emotions. The smile is full of smiles and the eyes are full of emotion. At this time, you instantly enter the character and enter the not me. The rehearsal hall was renovated from the old hall of Zhejiang West Technical School. It has a very high floor and a large space. The top is lined with rows of log gables. In a house with this kind of structure, even if it is equipped with air conditioning, it will not be effective at all. No, there are only a few large ceiling fans above the head, whirring and blowing, bringing bursts of hot air. Zhang Chen once suggested building a suspended ceiling for the auditorium and installing a few 5-horsepower air conditioners so that the temperature in the rehearsal hall could be lowered. Teacher Wu was strongly opposed to Zhang Chen's suggestion. He said that our troupe, when did we pay so much attention to rehearsals and need air conditioning? You know, when we go out to perform, not all stages have air conditioning. If we even rehearse so hard, if you can't stand it, will you not even be able to go on stage? Do you spend all your makeup as soon as you go on stage? Tan Shahen herself is an actor, and she has a deep understanding of this. An actor, especially a dramatic actor in a costume drama like them, even if it is the hot weather, when he wants to go on stage, he still has to wear layers of clothes. Wearing a heavy crown and headdress, when he stepped off the stage, his whole body was dripping with water, and he almost collapsed. But on stage, you still can't be careless at all. Tan Shahen also said forget it, it will only be more than a year, and it will be over if you persist. When you get to the new building, there will be air conditioning. Xiang Nan and the others were rehearsing at the rehearsal venue. They were wearing a t-shirt on top and a pair of bloomers on the bottom. Soon they were soaked through. They arrived at the hotel at noon, took a shower and changed clothes before going to dinner. In the afternoon rehearsal, they were still all dressed up. Soaked. The 4 people sitting on the edge kept the same rhythm as Xiang Nan. Even if they sat there without moving, they were still sweating. Xiang Nan looked at them and smiled. Why did you come here? Why don't you just stay in your room? Zhou Ruyi giggled, no, didn't we agree to live and die together? Zheng Xingxin said, it's still better than military training. Zhang Xiangbei and Sun Xiangyang were laughing on the side. Thank you for the reward of 2 fishes at one time and 3 o'clock in the middle of the night. Thank you Lao Chantang, why can't I change my name, the snake that bit the farmer, book friend 2019110211354671 in gross 11, look at the landscape, 55 Hong, book friend 201808030256355047, The Naughty King, Lef, Thomas. LHB, WXD121, Schrodinger's Monthly Pass. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you all good health. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1665. For the play Shakespeare and Tang Xianzu, through Xiangnan's promotion, 2 playwrights from Shanghai finally collaborated to write the script. Ding Yusong, who graduated from the composition department of the Shanghai Conservatory of Music, was also recruited into the troupe by Feng Logui. Responsible for composing the music for this play. Unable to find a suitable opera director, Xiangnan simply found a drama director from Hangzhou to direct the play. She believed that drama directors have broader ideas. Xiangnan plays Juliet in the play, Yin Tao plays Huo Xiao in the play, and there are 2 newly recruited actors, one plays Romeo and the other plays Li Yi. Feng Logui plays Tang Xianzu, and Su Jianmei simply disguises herself as a man, playing of Shakespeare. Su Jianmei begged for mercy and said to Xiangnan, "Good Nan Nan, it's okay if you want me to play a foreign devil. It's fine if you want me to play a devil. But if you want me to read all those books, it's a bit difficult for me." In order for Su Jianmei to play Shakespeare well, Xiangnan bought a set of 10 copies of the complete works of Shakespeare's plays. This was very difficult for Su Jianmei. Su Jianmei said, "Nanan, if you show me a set of comic books, I can still understand them. But this set of books, let alone understand them, I can't even read." Xiangnan smiled and said, "Aunt Jianmei, how can you play Shakespeare well if you don't read these books? If you don't understand, isn't there Director Ding who can read to you every day? Think about it, together every day reading Shakespeare is so romantic." Su Jianmei was amused by Xiangnan and promised to continue watching. Xiangnan also bought a collection of Tang Xianzu's dramas for Feng Logui. Feng Logui was a little embarrassed. He looked at Xiangnan and said quickly, I'll read it. I promise to read it all." "We still need to understand," Xiangnan said. "Okay, I promise to understand it deeply," Feng Logui said. In this play, Xiangnan discussed with the 2 screenwriters and the result was to combine Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet with Tang Xianzu's The Purple Hairpin. The 2 screenwriters were very bold, combining the onstage and offstage, also integrated into one. At the beginning of the play, it was the Lantern Festival. Li Yi and his friends went out to enjoy the lanterns. They met Huo Xiao. In a panic, Huo Xiao accidentally hung the purple jade hairpin she was wearing on the top of a plum tree, and Li Yi picked it up. When they arrived, Huo Xiao realized that the hairpin was missing and hurriedly came to look for it. When she met Li Yi, the 2 fell in love at first sight. At this time, in the auditorium in front, a person stood up, but it was Shakespeare. Shakespeare clapped his hands and praised, "It's love at first sight." Love at first sight is really a subject that dramatists can't finish writing. As Shakespeare spoke, he walked from the auditorium to the stage. When the audience's attention turned to Shakespeare, the scene on the stage quietly changed to the city of Verona, Italy, where the Capulet family was holding a grand banquet, celebrating the birthday of 13-year-old only daughter Juliet. Romeo, the 17-year-old son of the enemy's Montague family, sneaked into the party wearing a mask. He saw the beautiful Juliet and was deeply attracted by her. Juliet was also moved by Romeo, and the 2 fell in love at first sight. At this time, in the auditorium on the other side, a person stood up, that is, Tang Xianzu. Tang Xianzu shook his head and sighed, "Brother Sha, although you fell in love at first sight, the design of this plot is a bit flawed." Tang Xianzu walked towards the stage as he spoke. Romeo and Juliet continued on the stage. Shakespeare came to meet Tang Xianzu and asked him what his flaws were. Tang Xianzu and Shakespeare said, "Why did you write about Romeo sneaking into the enemy's banquet to find Rosaline, the woman he liked? Looking for a woman you like, but because you see a prettier woman, you turn to a prettier one and leave the woman you are looking for aside. Isn't this kind of liking too cheap? This Romeo is too showy. People, at least many of my viewers here won't like it." Shakespeare asked Tang Xianzu, "What is your Li Yi like?" Tang Xianzu narrated the following story, and the scene on the stage began to change, continuing the story of the purple hairpin. The whole play is like this: the two plays are combined together, and Shakespeare and Tang Xianzu are interspersed. They discuss each other's scripts and try to modify them. The climax of the whole play, that is, the last part, is when the two plays are performed simultaneously on the same stage, with a mixture of sorrow and joy. Romeo saw Juliet drinking the fake poison and thought she was really dead. After kissing Juliet, he took out the poison and drank it and died. Juliet woke up and saw Romeo committing suicide for herself. She was extremely sad and pulled out Romeo's hand. He stabbed himself with the sword, and finally fell to Romeo and died. At the same time, on the other side of the stage, with the help of the guest in yellow shirt, Li Yi and Huo Xiao finally met. Only then did the two people realize that all the misunderstandings were caused by Lu Taiwei's instigation. Bury the hatchet. Li Yi gave Huo Xiao the purple jade hairpin to wear, and the guest in yellow shirt also brought up the issue of Lu Taiwei's exclusive power. Finally, the emperor issued an edict. Li Yi was granted the title of Bachelor of Jixian Palace and the Minister of Luanda, and Huo Xiao was appointed as the Minister of Taiyuan. Mrs County. The other side was filled with mournful songs, while the other side was filled with joy. The two stories of love at first sight had different results in the end. Zhang Chen read the script and told Xiang Nan that it was good, and indeed innovative. Zhang Chen thought for a while and put forward his own suggestions on the design of the stage. He said that the scenes of Romeo and Juliet could be mainly placed in the evening and in summer, while the scenes of the purple hairpin could be placed during the day. Place it in the snowy winter, so that when the scene changes, the audience can immediately enter another experience. But in the end, the entire stage was half summer and half winter, but the scenes of the two scenes were swapped, placing Romeo and Juliet in daytime and winter, and finally the white snow slowly made the two of them stiff. The figures are completely covered, and the scene between Li Yi and Huo Xiao is placed on a summer night, with lights and colorful lights and brilliant fireworks. That's great, Uncle Zhang Chen. This will better bring out the sadness and joy of the two plays. Not only do you have to change the stage design, but you also need to change the script. However, the changes are so great that I will ask the screenwriter to change them right away," Xiangnan said excitedly. Zhang Chen stayed in Yongcheng for 2 days, leaving behind the renderings of the stage design for each scene and explaining to the artist what to do before leaving Yongcheng and returning to Hangzhou. Zhang Xiangbei and the others stayed in Luo. Not only did they stay here in Tongshan Villa, but Zhang Chen's parents and Xiao Zhao's parents also returned to their home in Yongcheng. They told Zhang Chen that Yongcheng was cooler than Hangzhou, but in fact it was not because they wanted to see Zhang Xiangbei. Zhang Chen returned to Hangzhou, and when he saw Tan Shahen, he smiled and said, "Well, the two children have gone to Yongcheng, and the old people have also followed. Now we are really alone." Tan Shahen giggled and said, "Okay, you, a lonely old man, will invite me, a lonely old woman, to eat Japanese food that night. Get out," Zhang Chen cursed. Not many days after Zhang Chen returned to Hangzhou, Xiaohu arrived in Yongcheng. He was surprised to see so many people around Xiangnan. After Xiongnan introduced them to each other, they knew who the other was. Xiahua said to Zhang Xiangbei, smiled and stretched out his hand to shake. Xiahua said, "It turns out to be senior brother." Zhang Xiangbei was stunned for a moment before he remembered that Xiahua was also Xiao's apprentice, but he became a disciple earlier than him, so he really should call him senior brother. Seeing Xiahua, who was obviously 5 or 6 years older than him, calling him senior brother, Zhang Xiangbei couldn't help but feel proud. Now that the senior fellow apprentices were shouting, Xiahua had the urge to spar. He ran to the car and came back with 2 pairs of boxing gloves, determined to compete with Zhang Xiangbei. Zhang Xiangbei couldn't defeat him, so the two of them went outside. Playground. Zhang Xiangbei has a higher understanding than Xiahua in this regard. After moving to the United States from Hangzhou, he has never been idle. He also organized a free fighting club in school. Xiahua is no match for him. He only punches 3 times and 2 punches. He was beaten to the ground by Zhang Xiangbei. Zhou Ruyi and Zheng Xingxin sat there, watching Xiahua, Zhang Xiangbei and Sun Xiangyang go out and come back 20 minutes later. Xiahua's eyes and half of his face were swollen. The two people laughed. Zhou Ruyi and Xiahua said, "Aren't the pandas in Taiwan given to you by our mainland? I didn't expect you in Taiwan to have them yourself." Xiahua gasped and said with a smile, "In Taiwan, we call the cat panda." "No wonder, so yours walks on 2 legs, and ours still walks on 4," Zhou Ruyi said, and the other people almost laughed. Xiongnan saw Xiahua like this from a distance and ran over quickly. She looked at Xiahua and Zhang Xiangbei and cursed. "Are you too childish to come here to fight?" Zhang Xiangbei was scolded by Xiangnan inexplicably. He said, "We didn't fight." "There was no fight, so how could Xiahua be like this?" Xiangnan asked. Xiahua quickly said, No, I just competed with my senior brother, but my skills are not as good as others." "What the hell, why did another senior brother show up?" Xiangnan asked. Xiahua quickly explained to her that because both of them were Xiao's apprentices, Zhang Xiangbei started training earlier than him, so of course he was his senior brother. Xiangnan understood and knew that they were really not fighting, so she breathed a sigh of relief. Xiangnan thought about it and said to Xiaohu, "Then I learned somersaults from Uncle Xiaowu, and I got started earlier than you. Am I now your senior sister?" Xiahua quickly said, Yes, you should be the senior sister." Xiongnan looked at Zhang Xiangbei, then at Xiahua, waved his hands and said, Okay, I think you two are Shakespeare and Tang Xianzhu." Anyway, he was idle. Xiahua called the company in Hangzhou and asked them to buy this and that. The next day, a carload of equipment was shipped from Hangzhou. There were many empty classrooms in the Western Zhejiang Technical School, so they set aside one and set up a training ground. Sun Xiangyang was very happy when he saw it, and he also went to practice. Zhou Ruyi and Sun Xiangyang said they were not allowed to go. "Why aren't you allowed to go?" Sun Xiangyang was surprised. He said, "We still have to learn this in school, but let me see, our coach is not as good as Zhang Xiangbei. Of course I want to learn it." Zhou Ruyi said, "If you go too, then there will be no more people to buy us ice cream every afternoon." Sun Xiangyang laughed, patted his chest and said, "Don't worry, I guarantee that the ice cream will be supplied on time every afternoon." Sun Xiangyang and Xiahua Zhang Xiangbei suggested that the 3 of them have a round-robin competition every afternoon, and the last person would be responsible for running out of the gate and buying ice cream for those in the rehearsal hall. Zhang Xiangbei and Xiahua both agreed, but from then on, it was either Xiahua or Sun Xiangyang who went out to buy ice cream every day. Xiahua went out more often. Later, he simply stopped running out and asked the ice cream seller to deliver ice cream to the rehearsal hall at 3:30 every afternoon. This way, they can concentrate on training. Thank you Pialing Yau, WXD 121, Lao Chantang, Not the Impossible World, and Li Rujin for your monthly votes. Thanks for all the votes and reading. Have a good evening everyone. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1666. When Xiaohu arrived in Yongcheng, he also lived in Latong Villa, but he lived in a suite. In this way, his room became an activity center for everyone, where they played cards and ate, sometimes facing south or north. There were 5 of them, and sometimes even Yin Tao, Ding Yusong, and other young people from the troupe would come, and it was so lively. Among all the people, Zhang Xiangbei is the youngest, and even Sun Xiangyang is 1 month older than him. Sun Xiangyang also said, I am about to be a sophomore, and you, Zhang Xiangbei, are still a little kid, a high school student, and you are not even in college. Not reporting in made Zhang Xiangbei furious, but he had no choice but to tell the truth. Everyone called Zhang Xiangbei little brother, and Zhang Xiangbei refused to accept it at first, but as the number of people and the number of calls increased, Zhang Xiangbei could only acquiesce. What's more, there are Xiang Nan, Zhou Ruyi, and Zheng Xingxin here. He has been calling them sister since he was a child. His history of calling Xiang Nan sister is even longer, which makes Zhang Xiangbei feel as if he has been like this since he was born. Until now, Xiangnan still calls Zhang Xiangbei the same as when he was a child. Like his father Zhang Chen, he doesn't call him by Bei or his brother, but calls him by his first name, Zhang Xiangbei. Zhang Xiangbei calls her, but he only dares to have one title, and that is sister. If he dares to call her Xiangnan or Nanan like Sun Xiangyang, he will have to eat his life. Of all the people, the oldest one is of course Xiaohu, so everyone calls him Big Brother. Zhou Ruyi and Xiaohu said, then we are all children raised by the Big Brother. Big Brother, you have to feed us well and fatten us up. Xiaohu smiled and said no question. Zheng Xingxin asked him, you don't even have to go to work? We are on summer vacation, are you there too? Xiaohu looked outside and said yes, it's such a hot weather. Zheng Xingxin smiled and said, should you go to the fields to plant rice, or should you go to the fields to cut rice? Xiaohu smiled and said, of course not, but it's not that I don't go to work. Every night after you leave, that's when I'm busiest at work. Xiaohu then explained to them that his work is very flexible, and most of it can be done online. When I am here, the company does not stop. I only need to read files, reports, data, and download. Instructions are enough. As for the outside work, there are dedicated people in the company doing it. Zhou Ruyi said yes, this is the face of a capitalist. Xiaohu smiled and said that the division of labor is just different. If I also did their work, not only would it not be more efficient, but I would also disrespect them. Zhang Xiangbei said from the side, your job is similar to that of my aunt Xiaofang. Xiaohu nodded and said yes. At 6:30 in the morning, the fog on the Xianan River was very heavy. This section of the Xianan River in Yongcheng flows out from the upstream Xianan River Reservoir, which is the bottom of Qiandao Lake. It takes 3 years for the water on the surface of Qiandao Lake to reach a depth of more than 70 meters after natural sedimentation. When it surges out from the gate at the bottom of the Zinanjiang hydropower station, the water temperature for more than 10 kilometers under the dam is maintained at 12 degrees Celsius - 17 degrees Celsius all year round. Between degrees Celsius, it is truly warm in winter and cool in summer. The location of West Zhejiang Technical School can be said to be not far from the water outlet, only 3 or 4 kilometers. The water temperature here is lower and the water is clearer. It belongs to the water source protection zone of Yongcheng City. It is July, and even in the early morning, the temperature is 34 to 5 degrees Celsius. Because of the temperature difference between the water surface and the ground, Xianan strange fog is formed. Every morning and evening, the entire Xianan River and both sides of the river are covered with fog. It has turned into a white band filled with river fog. If you don't get within 1 meter of the river, you can't see the water at all. Xiang Nan and Yin Tao stood in this thick fog every morning and hung up their throats. Even if they were only 2 or 3 meters apart, they could only hear sounds and not see people. They breathed in the air while breathing. A mouthful of water mist, it feels sweet and a little sweet, filling the whole lungs, making people indescribably transparent, and sometimes even forgetting them suddenly, not knowing where they are. When they stopped, they heard the sound of someone beating clothes with a mallet on the riverside not far away. The sound of banging clothes came from deep in the thick fog, which brought them back to the real world. Every morning, while Zhang Xiangbei and Sun Xiangyang were still sleeping, Xiaohu followed Zhou Ruyi and Zheng Xingxin. The two of them continued to take a nap while Xiangnan and the others were babbling, while Xiaohu stared at them intently. Looking at her hazy figure from a few meters away, Xiangnan felt that she was really beautiful. Listening to Xiangnan's voice lingering in his ears, Xiaohu really felt that the figure in front of him could only exist in the sky. Any fool can tell that Xiaohu is chasing Xiangnan. Even his mother knows that when Xiaohu took Xiangnan to Taipei to visit Mr. Lin Huimin, Miss Cai met them many times. Xiaohu's mother also liked Xiangnan very much. In her view, a person can temporarily change himself or even compromise to achieve a certain goal, but there is one thing that cannot be changed, and that is tutoring. This has nothing to do with wealth or poverty, or even a person's knowledge. There are too many polite robbers and well-dressed beasts in this world. Reading does not make people kind, it only makes people learn to be better at pretending. And for a person with an honest nature, his words, deeds, and genetics are the best guarantee for future generations. MSCAI admires Tan Shahan very much. She feels that her character has a strong part and a tender part, a place where she insists on her own opinions and a place where she is considerate. She has her persistence. No matter how bad the outside world is, she always it will maintain its own nature and will not change easily. When such a person is poor, he will have tolerance for the world instead of hatred. When he becomes rich, he will not be domineering and arrogant, but will have compassion for the world and others. MSCAI felt that Tan Shahan was very similar to Mr. Zhang Chen in this regard. This was also the reason why she wanted Xiaohu to come to the mainland and have more contact with them. She believed that those who were close to Zhu were red, and she also believed that Meng's mother moved 3 times because of her. The truth. MSCAI always believes that such people look weak and even a little cowardly, but in fact they are very resilient. Their ability to withstand attacks is much stronger than those who look arrogant. They are the kind of people who will not face danger. A person who loves fish but only retreats to build a net. Because of having such a mother, Miss Cai went to observe Xiangnan carefully. She felt that there were many things that remained in the blood and would be passed down through generations. She very much hopes that Xiaohu can be with Xiangnan. She feels that if Xiangnan is by Xiaohu's side, she can rest assured. She believes that Xiangnan is not the kind of person who is arrogant when he is successful and depressed when he fails. The road in life is long. Who knows what Xiaohu will experience in this life? I can see his present, but I can't see his future, let alone protect his future. But Xiangnan can. Miss Cai knows that Xiaohu has a fragile side in his character. When he really experiences strong winds and waves, he may fall down and be unable to recover. At that time, Xiangnan is the one who can really support him, not just wave his sleeves away. The person who left. Miss Cai was very optimistic about Xiangnan. When talking to Tan Shahan on the phone, she also revealed her intention to bring Xiangnan and Xiaohu together, but every time, Tan Shahan cleverly avoided it with other topics. Bai once told Miss Cai that she respected Xiangnan's own choices since she was a child. At many key points, out of motherly instinct, she would reflexively object fiercely at the time, but after thinking about it afterwards, she would always calm down. In the end, she respected Xiangnan's own choice, gave up the college entrance examination, and wanted to take the college entrance examination. She was like this when she was taking the art exam, and she was like this when Xiangnan gave up her studies at film school. Tan Shahan's reaction was expected by Miss Cai. If she had not reacted like this, Miss Cai would have felt that this Tan Shahan was no longer Tan Shahan. Although in the eyes of most people, their two conditions are very suitable, and to some extent, marrying Xiangnan to Xiaohu is a bit high, but this has never been in Tan Shahan's consideration range. If Miss Cai had such intention, she knew that Tan Shahan would categorically refuse contact between Xiangnan and Xiaohu. Miss Cai saw Xiaohu's devotion to Xiangnan, and she encouraged this devotion, hoping that Xiangnan would also feel for Xiaohu, or be moved by his sincerity. Ms. Cai felt that in this matter, when facing Tan Shahan and her daughter, she had no other choice but to support them. It doesn't have to be. Xiaohu has never lacked women in his life. His family background, his education, his appearance and character are almost modeled after the Prince Charming in the minds of many girls. Since he was in middle school, there have been many girls. I would write him a note and approach him intentionally. When he got to college, it was even more like this. There were a few girls with cheerful personalities who even went so far as to coerce and threaten him. In the end, his mother had to step in and help him deal with these messy things. Xiaohu is a person who gets along well with everyone, but he is also a person who is a little cold and lazy by nature. His coldness is internal, and he always smiles on the surface. Such a personality will drive many girls crazy, and when we were together, he obviously got along very well, and he took good care of herself, which made the girl feel very confident. But when the girl was really ready to take a step forward, she realized that Xiaohu had already slipped away. He had always been wrong. He was not so protective of herself, but he was like this to almost all girls. Some girls left their phone numbers for him, but he would not take the initiative to call back. Some girls invited him and hinted that they were at home alone, but he would not refuse. The girl carefully arranged the room and herself, thought of countless plans, and felt that everything was ready. She was just waiting to dedicate herself to the other person tonight, watching the wall clock on the wall passing by minute by minute. The order was late, and the girl's self-confidence began to slowly collapse, and she became shrinking. Finally, she despaired, knowing that Xiaohu would not come today. Put aside your pride and call him to ask where he was. Xiaohu said nonchalantly that he was in a bar. Come on, you can come too. The girl was extremely angry and rushed out of the house. When she arrived at the bar, she saw Xiaohu with many friends, men and women. When he saw the girl, Xiaohu didn't take it seriously. He stood up with a smile and pulled her into the game. This made the girl feel an itch of hatred in her heart, but she couldn't help it. She drank and thought about it carefully. Besides Xiaohu not rejecting her, it seemed that Xiaohu had never really promised that she would come. It was because she was being sentimental. What is this? Thank you Zheng Kanghaya for the reward of 2 fishes at about 3 o'clock in the middle of the night. Thank you Zheng Kanghaya, empty, no future, just remember the original intention. Book friend 20210116121915804, The Snake That Bit the Farmer, CYTYP, Zi Zhang said, book friend 20190109214257174, 55 Hong, Void Broken Dream, Nanki Iming 79, Humor Tribe Monthly Pass. I wish you all good health. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1667. When Xiaohu saw Xiang Nan, he felt that a strange change had occurred in him. For the first time, he felt that he was the same on the outside. That is, he was no longer lazy and unmotivated about anything, but was willing to do a lot. I am willing to take the initiative for the sake of Xiangnan. He has always been inactive, probably because he was spoiled by girls who have always been active. For the first time, he felt that he had changed seats, which made him feel a little strange, but he also had a different experience. It turned out that giving can be so beautiful. He felt that he was willing to do anything just for Xiangnan. However, Xiaohu has never confessed his love to Xiangnan. Xiaohu stubbornly believes that when he truly likes someone, everything between them can only be a one-time thing. Confession is a one-time thing and a proposal is a one-time thing. Yes, marriage is also a one-time event. Xiaohu was a little timid because of this and did not dare to complete this one-time confession. He was afraid that if he failed once, there would be no second time. At that time, Xiangnan would reject him thousands of miles away. He was even like now in this way, there is no chance to see Xiangnan up close, and there is no possibility of even becoming a friend. The most important thing is that Xiangnan has never given any hint to Xiaohu, which makes Xiaohu even more uneasy. For Xiangnan, she is now focused on doing everything she can to do well, that is, how to arrange this new play. Everything else falls by the wayside. Xiangnan didn't say it, but Xiaohu knew and understood that dropping out of film school was actually not an easy thing for Xiangnan. For her, it was both a shattering of her ideals and a setback in her life. This path was chosen by me at the beginning, but as a result, I had to quit not long after I started on it. This is actually a very useless thing for Xiangnan. It also makes her hold her breath and forces her to make more achievements and arrange new plays. She needs to use facts to prove that her choice is right. Xiangnan is a high-spirited person, and she will not express her thoughts, but from her daily life, her persistence, and every little thing, almost obsessive-compulsive like demands on herself, Xiaohu sees that it can be seen that she has a kind of ruthlessness and strict demands on herself. She just wants to do something to show to others, and even more to herself. Therefore, it is not difficult to understand that she devoted almost all her energy and attention to the new play. For Xiangnan, this is indeed the case. She does not hate Xiaohu, and sometimes she is even grateful for Xiaohu's help to her. But her heart is in the new play and the troupe. She has never gone to Taipei to watch the Cloud Gate dance. After the set, Xiangnan had already made up her mind that she would build the Yongchengwu Opera Troupe into an amazing art group like Cloud Gate Dance Theater. As for other things, she really didn't have time to think about it. What moved her heart was not the love between men and women. Although she also knew that Xiaohu liked her very much, she felt that it was your business whether you liked her or not. I like her. If I don't like it, it's my own business. I won't do two things now. Xiangnan's current position in the troupe is assistant to the director, but from Feng Logui to teacher Wu, from Su Jianmei to Xiang, they are either her relatives or those who watched her grow up. Everyone dotes on her and likes to listen to her. The arrangement, this kind of pampering, made Xiangnan feel a kind of pressure. She felt that the more everyone pampered her, the less she could be arrogant and should work hard to do better. As for Yin Tao and Ding Yusong, their thoughts are more simple. They feel that since the troupe belongs to your family, of course you have the final say. You are the boss, and we all listen to you. For Xiangnan, he felt that because of this, he had to show off even more to show these young actors and actresses. Therefore, the pressure on the entire troupe is actually on Xiangnan. She is the assistant, and Feng Logui is assisting her in doing things. Xiangnan understood his position in the group, and he refused to be careless about himself at all. Like Xiaohu, Xiangnan has been writing notes to her since middle school, with male classmates deliberately trying to get close to her. However, she takes it all indifferently. When she receives the note, she will open it and read it. She looked at it with no expression on her face. After reading it, she threw it into the nearest trash can. This made the boy who racked his brains to write her a note look annoyed. But it's useless to be upset. She doesn't do this to you alone, she does this to everyone. When Xiangnan was in junior high school, Zhou Ruyi and Zheng Xingxin were two best friends who played together every day. In high school, everyone is stressed by teachers and parents. Especially for students in key high schools, the pressure to study has suddenly increased a lot. There is not so much time or energy to interact with classmates. And maintaining mutual friendship, the feelings of classmates have faded a bit. But studying does not slow down the turbulent heart. There are still many people pursuing Xiangnan, but Xiangnan and everyone maintain the relationship and distance between ordinary classmates and will not get closer. Some people wrote notes to her, and they were in junior high school. Times have changed. Now she doesn't answer it at all, or she knows who wrote it to her. She doesn't even read it and just returns it to them. A classmate once folded a note. When Xiangnan was away, he secretly tucked it into the book she had piled on the table. During class, Xiangnan opened the textbook and saw the folded note. He still didn't open it, but instead opened it. She calmly placed the note in an empty corner of the desk and let it sit there quietly. This action made it clear that the note had nothing to do with her. At this time, it was the turn of the student who wrote the note to be nervous. He was worried that the teacher would pick it up and open it curiously when he saw it. This class was spent in such restlessness. When class was over, Xiangnan stood up and after walking out, the note was still lying there quietly. The student who wrote the note was worried that other students would open it, so he hurried over and took it back. The second time, I never dared to write again. Among the male classmates, they all said that Xiangnan was cold, very pretentious, and a cold beauty who pretended to be cool, but that was just how she was, and no one could do anything to her. When Xiangnan went to film school, things became quiet in this area. First, there were so many beautiful girls in film school that it was dazzling. The most important thing was that, regardless of gender, almost all of those who could go to film school were pretentious. Bulletin Fan was chased and pampered by members of the opposite sex all the way. He was asked to take the initiative to express his admiration for any member of the opposite sex, but they were still reserved. What's more, at this time, everyone's thoughts are no longer here. Everyone uses all their capital as a stepping stone for the future, and is stingy with irrelevant people. Until now, Xiangnan has not been attracted to Xiahua, and secondly, he has always been reserved. Zhang Xiangbei looked at Xiangnan and Xiahua, and had a strange feeling in his heart. Ever since he was a child, his sister had been surrounded by suitors like Xiahua. Zhang Xiangbei felt that these people would like his sister and it was right to pursue her. And it's right for my sister to be too lazy to talk to them. Everyone can see that the relationship between Xiangnan and Xiahua is hot and cold. Zhang Xiangbei likes Xiangnan's coldness very much, although he himself can't explain the reason. Zhang Xiangbei is only 19 years old today, and he is still a little ignorant about the relationship between men and women. He spent his adolescence among a group of white girls, and they had a subconscious dislike for each other. He was not able to follow his liking for the opposite sex normally. Developed together with the body. In addition, Xiaofang has been living with Xiaofang, who is also very indifferent to the opposite sex. This has also affected Zhang Xiangbei invisibly. Zhang Xiangbei's feelings for Xiangnan are somewhere between liking and dependence, and the dependence factor is even greater. Xiangnan and Zhang Xiangbei have always behaved like a sister who wants you to be good, and a sister who wants you to be obedient. Zhang Xiangbei is also used to this active-passive relationship. When two people walk together, they will naturally hold hands. When they get together and part ways, they will naturally hold each other and cry. When they were children, they slept on the same bed, and when they grew up, they each had a room. However, they never had a lot of physical contact, and they were very familiar with each other's body odor. However, after Zhang Xiangbei went to the United States, the two of them spent less time together. There is a little more shyness between each other, but this shyness is the same every time. After a short period of adaptation, it naturally disappears and they remain the same as before. Zhang Xiangbei came back from training covered in sweat. He sat next to Xiang Nan. When he felt tired, he would naturally fall to Xiang Nan. Xiang Nan pressed his head with one hand and cursed. Zhang Xiangbei, get out of here, you're covered in sweat and you stink. What Xiangnan dislikes is just the sweat on Zhang Xiangbei's body. If he smells good, Xiangnan will never be afraid of him falling to him. Many times, when Zhang Xiangbei falls down like this, Xiangnan will squeeze him with his body. Squeeze him, or use your fingers to mess up his hair in a playful manner. Zhang Xiangbei was furious, while Xiangnan laughed happily. Zhang Xiangbei watched the little tiger follow Xiang Nan step by step. He was careful, as if Xiang Nan was the vase in his hand, it would break if he was not careful. Zhang Xiangbei couldn't help but laugh and thought to himself. This licking dog, it is really appropriate to call yourself a licking dog. Xiang Nan raised his voice, and the babbling sounds soon turned into low singing in the thick fog. As soon as Xiang Nan started, Yin Tao and the others followed suit, and a few of them even sang in duet. The people who were washing clothes by the river heard them starting to sing, so they simply sat down on the steps by the river, stopped washing clothes, and listened quietly. As Xiang Nan sang, people in the fog naturally began to make moves. Xiao Hu stared blankly, almost stupid. Zhou Ruyi poked him with her hand and asked quietly, "Licking dog, what are you looking at?" Xiaohu's face turned red and he quickly said, I didn't see anything, I just noticed that the fog was very heavy today." Zhou Ruyi chuckled and said, "You call this voyeurism, do you understand? Thank you Yuangzi, Zipanjiang 1, Laodibao Ei, Daos Hung 123, and Huhu for your monthly votes. Thanks for all the votes and reading. Have a good evening everyone." The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1668. Yongcheng, like all other counties, has no decent leisure life. The biggest fun for locals is to play mahjong. When you walk on every road at night, you can hear the sounds coming from the open windows on the side. The sound of mahjong coming out, sometimes in a building, there will be several families playing mahjong, playing a mahjong concerto. In the room where the mahjong is played, the sound of the mahjong is very noisy, but the voices of the people playing mahjong are very low, and they are all whispering. In the room where the red 5 is played, it is the opposite. There is no sound from the cards, but the people playing the cards are very noisy. He was shouting that other people's poker skills were too bad. Without mahjong and red 5, how would the people in this town spend a long night? After the movie theater was demolished, all kinds of performances disappeared. There were originally few performances, but now they are completely gone. Before Zhongchen Cinema opened, the only place where you could watch movies was the Yongcheng Cinema on the side of the Cultural Square, not far from the theater. The Yongcheng Cinema was still old-fashioned, just like a city hall, with rows of wooden folding doors. When the performance ended, the chairs clattered together, which was a drum beat urging everyone to walk faster. The horizontal rows of seats in the cinema range from number 1 to 32, and the vertical rows range from row 1 to 33. A cinema can probably seat 1,000 people. If there are any popular movies, except for we sell sold-out tickets, and when there are many people watching, we also sell standing tickets without seats. People who bought standing tickets had no seats, so they all climbed up to the front stage and sat in rows in front of the screen. Before the movie started, it was the busiest time. People in the audience threw whatever they had in their hands onto the stage. From every corner of the theater, various objects, such as apple cores, banana peels, orange peels, watermelon rinds, wrapped melon seed shells, etc., flew to the stage like raindrops. The people on the stage can only shrink their heads and bear it. They can't pick it up and throw it down. They are on the stage in full view of everyone. If they throw it away, there are so many people below looking at them. They can't deny it. Someone will settle the score with them. But there are exceptions, that is, when a group of gangsters buy standing tickets to enter the venue, they will pick up the things thrown up from below, turn around, and throw them arrogantly below. At this time, you have to shrink your head and bear it. It's the people below. The war between the two sides didn't stop until the movie started and the projections of the people standing on the stage were superimposed on the screen. Before the gangsters sat down, they had to do one last trick and wiggle their butts downwards. There are also two KTVs in the town, both of which are small in scale and operated secretly. They have hired several young girls from Anhui, Hunan, and Sichuan to accompany them as singers. Most of the people who frequent them are contractors, as well as those from the town below. The boss of the company, even the reputable people from various local departments dare not patronize it. It is a small place where everyone you meet is acquaintances. It is not good to be seen in a place like this. If they want to have fun, they are willing to find a chance to go to a KTV in Hangzhou to play. The person who invites guests feels that they have face, and the person who is invited is also very relaxed. Apart from these, there really isn't much else to do in Yongcheng at night. The only places that attract the most people and are the most attractive are the night food stalls. Xiaohu and Xiongnan Xiangbei and the others would go to the night food stalls at the small entrance of the district almost every night. There were more than 10 or 20 restaurants in a row. Everyone put tables and stools at the door, and there were dozens of tables lined up in a long row. In the middle of the night, it looks spectacular. When Xiaohu and Xiongnan's two BMWs stopped on the roadside, the diners turned to look around, and the waiters from each store also gathered around, not to solicit business, but to say hello to Xiongnan. As for which restaurant to go to, they had already discussed it before they came. Basically, they would change one house a day, and each company's business would be taken care of, and they would also change their tastes. Every night, whenever they appear, there will always be a commotion here. Everyone knows that it is Xiang Nan from the Wu opera troupe, a few goblins, and the Taiwanese guy. In contrast, no one knew about Zhang Xiangbei. No one knew that this tall boy was Zhang Chen's son. Like Tan Shahen back then, Xiang Nan was a celebrity in Yongcheng. In this small town, gossip spread in all directions. With the help of the internet, it was impossible for Xiang Nan not to become famous. He made an appearance when he was admitted to the film school. Name: this is the first person to be admitted to the Beijing Film Academy since the founding of Yongcheng Pangu, the future star that everyone is eagerly waiting for. Soon, someone posted her photos and things on the Yongcheng Forum on the 19th floor, causing a burst of excitement. When she dropped out of school and returned to the Yongcheng Wu opera troupe, of course she became famous again. Many people posted her photos and reports on the Yongcheng Forum. Everyone was talking about it, and they couldn't understand this future star. Why did you suddenly drop out of school? If there is a good thing, it is not that she dropped out of school, but was expelled. She was in school and had sex with a teacher. That teacher is the so-and-so in the TV series that is being broadcast now. She is acting with Jo Sun in a certain TV series. She has a big belly. He was just expelled from school. Everyone thought this statement was very reliable and reasonable. Wenwen was so angry that she went directly to the Yongcheng Forum and cursed. Wenwen knew that when talking to these people on the internet, they couldn't understand anything that was too complicated. Wenwen said directly that her mother, Tan Shahen, had bought both the theater and the Wu opera troupe to build the tallest building in Yongcheng. If she didn't come back to the troupe, who's coming back? Everyone thinks that Wenwen's statement is more reliable than that of messing with the teacher. In addition, the teacher's TV series is still on the air, and we haven't heard of any punishment. Wenwen said, "Are you all pigs? If a teacher makes a student pregnant, isn't it the teacher who is punished first?" Everyone thought it made sense, and as more interviews with Xiang Nan came out, everyone finally recognized the idea that she came back to inherit and manage the family property. After several such twists and turns, even the young people in the town knew, "Oh, we actually have a theater troupe in Yongcheng, and in the troupe there is such a beauty who can go to the Beijing Film Academy. Not only is she beautiful, but she also has a family at home. Money, isn't this the goddess you can't even chase in your dreams? She drives a BMW, and only the Taiwanese who also drives a BMW is a good match for her." This Taiwanese who often appears at the same time as Xiang Nan arouses everyone's curiosity. No matter whose son it is, everyone recognizes that this guy is no ordinary person. When Yin Tao and the others joined the troupe, there was not just one beauty in the troupe, but a whole family of little goblins. There were obviously more young men wandering around the gate of West Zhejiang Technical School every day. Xiang Nan and the others decided to eat spicy fish pot today. As soon as they sat down, a Buick Regal and an Audi parked beside them. 7 or 8 people got out of the car and sat at the table next to them. From their accents, from what I heard, he should be from a town below Yongcheng. That town is full of home textile owners, and the one who drives Audi and Buick should be one of them. They probably just came out of the KTV, and they brought 2 girls who looked like they were KTVs. The boss who drove the Audi sat down and was attracted to Xiang Nan's table. He stared straight at Xiang Nan, and occasionally looked at her again. The girl next to me seemed to have seen a different breed. The boss whispered something to the man next to him. The man stood up, walked over, and said to Zhang Xiangbei and the others, "Brother, can we share a table together, and we will treat you?" Zhang Xiangbei said, "Thank you, we will eat our own food, you can do whatever you want." The man went back angrily, sat down, and shook his head at the boss. The boss looked unhappy and scolded his subordinates. 2 gangsters from Yongcheng town came with them. Of course they knew Xiang Nan and knew that they were not easy to mess with, so they also advised the boss. He said, "Don't provoke them, that's Tan Shuhen's daughter. Gangsters are bullies and afraid of the strong. They are actually the most calculating, especially in a town like this. Who doesn't know who is who? Before they bully others, they will weigh each other's strength. In this town in Yongcheng City, no one knows who the other is. If he dares to provoke Xiang Nan, he knows that she is not the same type of person as him. If you bully a random girl on the street, it will attract a lot of people from the joint defense team. Everyone will have a laugh and it will be over. If nothing happens, they will come to the police station, and it won't be a big deal. But if you want to bully Xiang Nan, you may directly attract the police chief or the mayor. Who can handle this situation? In this small town, your every move is watched by someone, and everyone knows you. It's too easy to know who you are. As soon as you get home, the police come to the door. The gangsters also know that their position in the ecological chain of this town has certain limits that cannot be crossed, and they dare not make mistakes. Not to mention, the boss who came down from below didn't know this. When he heard what they said, he was unhappy. He stretched his neck and shouted directly to the south. "Baby, come here quickly and drink with me. You can pay as much as you want. I have plenty of money." He shouted so loudly that all the late-night snackers turned their heads to look. Before the others could react, Ding Yusong was the first to stand up and cursed, you are nothing, and you don't look at yourself in the mirror." The people at that table became furious and stood up. Zhang Xiangbei, Xiaohuo, and Sun Xiangyang also stood up. They had practiced all day and still had the energy to worry about having nowhere to go. The 2 sides were about to fight. At this time, 2 people came from not far away. One walked up behind the boss, grabbed the boss's shoulders with both hands, and pushed him back to his seat. The boss tried to struggle, but he couldn't get away. The other one just stood on the side and watched. The two gangsters in Yongcheng town were immediately frightened when they saw him and quickly shouted, "Achi!" When the boss heard the name Achi, he didn't struggle and his face turned pale instantly. Achi glanced sideways at the boss and asked the two people, "Are you friends? You seem a little arrogant." The two men quickly picked up the cigarettes on the table, and handed out cigarettes to Achi with trembling hands. Achi did not take it, but raised his hand to Xiang Nan, said sorry, and smiled at him. The person pressing the boss's shoulder reached out and patted the boss on the face and said to him, "Be honest." The boss couldn't even speak. Achi and the others left. When they passed Xiang Nan's table, Achi raised her hand to Xiang Nan again and said thank you to Xiang Nan. Achi walked back to his table and sat down. Their table was 3 or 4 tables away from Zhang Xiangbei and the others. Zhang Xiangbei was very curious and asked Xiangnan, "Who was this person?" "I don't know either." Xiang Nan shook his head and laughed again. "Do you want to identify him? By the way, you should be his uncle. He is the apprentice of Uncle Xiao Wu. Last time, Uncle Xiao Wu go back to Yongcheng and take him to play with the troupe." After Xiangnan returned to Yongcheng, Xiao Wu and Xiao Jing called back to Yongcheng and asked their acquaintances in Yongcheng to help take care of Xiangnan. Zhou Ruyi and Xiaohu said, "Did you see that? If you dare to bully Xiangnan, you will be in trouble." Xiaohu's face turned red and he said hurriedly, I, how dare I bully her? Thank you for the reward of 2 fishes at one time and 3 o'clock in the middle of the night. Thank you, Mr. Mianzi, for looking at the mountains and rivers, listening to Sandy, not seeing a future but remembering the original intention, and book friend 2019010921425717 for your monthly votes. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you a nice weekend. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1669. Zhang Chen left his office, went downstairs, and drove to the Riverside Oil Painting Gallery. Tomorrow is the day when Laoju's Battle of Fai Shui video exhibition will be launched. Laoju has been setting up the exhibition yesterday and today. It should be almost done by now. Zhang Chen is going to take a sneak peek to see what this Battle of Fai Shui is like. Zhang Chen arrived at the Riverside Oil Painting Gallery, parked his car, and was shocked when he walked into the exhibition hall on the first floor. He saw that all the display panels in the exhibition hall had been removed, and the entire exhibition hall was empty, but along the 4 sides, they were spliced together, black and white photos more than 2 meters high. Only the left end was in color, and it was the Battle of Fai Shui that he had seen. The entire circle is several hundred meters long, and the momentum is astonishing. It is simply a panoramic view of war. Zhang Chen followed the guide arrows for viewing the exhibition, starting from the right and looking all the way to the right. He immediately discovered that the scene he saw that night was only a small part of the Battle of Fai Shui, that is, the exhibition. The 17 to 8 meter long section on the right truly shows the original appearance of the Battle of Fai Shui, but then the picture begins to mutate. The scene is still the same, but the human figures above it have begun to change. Both sides of the fight have smiles on their faces. The previous scenes were still very tragic, but here they start to become a little funny. They are no longer engaged in a battle. It is not a war, but a performance of 5 animals show. Then the picture mutated further. They were all naked and bald men. Even their eyebrows were shaved, and the smiles on their faces disappeared. They all had sad faces, as if they were fighting and thinking hard about life. Or maybe he was thinking about the meaning of this war. Zhang Chen saw that Fujian, Xiexian, and Xieshi were also naked. Even the hair on their crotch mounts had been shaved off, which looked very weird. Zhang Chen continued to walk forward, and the scene continued to change. Later, what flowed in the Fai Shui River was not river water, but US dollars, euros, Australian dollars, Japanese yen, Hong Kong dollars and RMB. Everyone was dressed in strange clothes and running around, like in a grand carnival. Fujian turned into Michael Jackson, Xiexian turned into GEU, and Xieshi turned into Guo Di Gang with a big belly. Zhang Chen couldn't help laughing. When he got here, the photo also turned into color. Zhang Chen looked at the people in the picture. Every one of them was a celebrity from China and abroad, and their expressions were hilarious. Zhang Chen turned around, looked around, and took a breath of cold air. He thought, how much hard work and how many villains did this old man put together to piece together such a masterpiece? A masterpiece, even in terms of length. Zhang Chen shook his head and thought, no wonder Lao Ju would say that all the money he earned was invested in this. Zhang Chen walked to the second floor and saw Lao Ju and Zhao Xian here. On display here were close-ups one after another, including the serious Xiexian, the bald Xiexian, the laughing Xiexian, and the frowning Xiexian. Xiexian, until the close-up photos of Xiexian who turned into GEU, are juxtaposed in a row, which has a bit of Andy Warhol flavor. The other portraits are handled in the same way. When Lao Ju saw Zhang Chen, he came over and asked him, do you see anything interesting? Zhang Chen said, what a dick. It's so interesting. Lao Ju, it shocked me that night. I didn't expect it to be just a drop in the bucket. It's so lethal. You are overturning the entire history of mankind. Lao Ju nodded and said, yes, in my opinion, the entire history written by human beings is a history of absurdity. What is the significance of this war to us? Lao Ju pointed to the serious Xiexian on the wall, then pointed to Xiexian who had turned into GEU, and said to Zhang Chen. For us, is it different whether Xiexian is him or not? I can guarantee that after watching this exhibition, what the audience will remember is not the original Xiexian, but GEU Xiexian. Zhang Chen nodded. Lao Ju said, this raises a serious question. Our history is actually miswritten by future generations again and again, no matter what the purpose is, and then more people misread it and then write it wrongly. What has been continued is always a fallacy, not a fact. Each Fai Shui battle is absurd to us, and there is no difference between them. So, only your photos are real, but the scenes inside and the information they convey are all wrong, right? Zhang Chen asked. It's not just that, Lao Ju said, we have always believed that cameras are closest to people's eyes. Everyone likes to say that there are pictures and the truth, and they like to use photos as evidence. Even court proceedings and police evidence collection are willing to do so. By adopting photos as evidence, we have incredible trust in photos and believe that they are the best means of recording history and truth. But what I am here is to show you. Did you see that these are all photos? None of what these photos convey is true, and they are all false. For us, since there is no fei shui ji, the scene of war is real, so will we fall into difficulties in speech and expression. Or the other way around, Zhang Chen said, if we keep emphasizing the last scene and instilling it in people, in the end everyone will believe that this is the Battle of Fai Shui, and Fujian is like Michael Jackson. Xiexian is GEU, and Xieshi is Guo Di Gang. Yes, what you said is very good, Lao Ju said excitedly. When Zhang Chen and Lao Ju were talking, Zhao Xian stood beside them and listened to them. Zhang Chen asked Zhao Xian, how are you getting in touch with the MoMA Biennale? Zhao Xian said, it has been confirmed that it will be held in November this year. Zhang Chen said, this one from Lezhou can also be given away. We don't want to be limited to just easel paintings. This is also a work of art. Zhao Xian said, this won't work. Why? Zhang Chen asked. I contacted a better place for this, Zhao Xian said. Where? Guggenheim. Awesome, Zhang Chen exclaimed before Zhao Xian finished speaking. Yes, the Guggenheim's rotating and ascending corridor exhibition hall is so great to have this on display. The audience starts to look at it from below. Looking at the top, there must be a look of confusion on his face. A look of confusion is the entire meaning of this exhibition. After a look of confusion, everyone will start to think and find their own answers. This is a completely open exhibition with no predetermined stance. I have sent them photos and they are very interested. They will send someone to evaluate it tomorrow. If they are sure that Lao Ju's works can be exhibited there, they will provide a fund. Zhao Xian said. We can also sponsor, Lao Ju, don't worry about funding, Zhang Chen said. Lao Ju laughed and said, this is what I am most worried about. To be honest, this battle of Fai Shui has already bankrupted me. Zhang Chen smiled and said, it's understandable, but we can support your creative projects in the future, and there is only one condition, and that is to use us as the first exhibition venue for your works. For this matter, you can contact Zhao Xian. Zhao Xian said yes, and Lao Ju said, thank you very much, thank you Mr. Zhang, thank you Director Zhao. Zhang Chen and Lao Ju said, don't be too busy thanking me. If your exhibition is going to the Guggenheim, I think it needs to be adjusted. Mr. Zhang, tell me how to adjust it, Lao Ju said. Zhang Chen said, look, this is the Battle of Fai Shui. It is of course suitable to exhibit it here. How many Chinese people don't know about the Battle of Fai Shui? When watching the exhibition, it is easy to you were brought in, but it's different in the United States. Does anyone in the United States know about the Battle of Fai Shui? They will be confused and think you are doing Spartacus. In the eyes of Americans, the world is the United States, and the United States is the world. In their eyes, they only have themselves. Someone told me that even now, there are still Americans who think that Chinese men still have braids. Give them this. Look, how could they understand, how could they be brought in? In this case, there will be a feeling of separation. Lao Ju nodded, Mr. Zhang, you are right. From the beginning, I wanted to show this creation to the Chinese people. I never thought that one day it would go to the United States. I know, but now, the people from the Guggenheim are coming tomorrow, and it will definitely be too late to recreate it, but you can make your new plan and show it to them. After they get the plan, they can take a look at the real scene here. I understand what you want to express, Zhang Chen said, so today and tomorrow, you have to make a plan to adjust the original one. Mr. Zhang, do you have any good suggestions? Lao Ju asked. My suggestion is that since you are going to the United States, of course you should do something that Americans can understand. You can do the Civil War. Zhang Chen said while thinking, by the way, it can be the War of Independence. We are fighting in the United States. I saw a painting in the Metropolitan Museum called Washington Crossing the Delaware River. This painting is a household name in the United States. Zhao Xian, you will find it later and show it to me. Zhao Xian agreed that this painting would be on the first page of the Met's album. Zhang Chen said, you can also create based on the scene of this painting. Of course, the scene can be enlarged a bit and the characters can be added to enhance the visual impact. But the topic can be this, Washington crossing the Delaware River. Haha, Mr. Zhang, if I need to adjust anything, you have already adjusted it for me. Mr. Zhang, this work should be considered a joint creation by us, Lao Ju said. Zhang Chen said no, I don't dare to steal the beauty. The whole idea is yours. I just provided some suggestions as a friend. If you think my suggestion can be adopted, you can adopt it. If you think it is not necessary, then no need. No, it must be adopted, Lao Ju said, and the three of them laughed. Thank you Hu Hu, Dao Duwen, Lao Qin, Tao Sheng 123, and Book Friends 1412210712481111 for your monthly votes. Thanks for all the votes and reading. Have a good evening everyone. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1670. After dinner, Lao Ju followed Zhang Chen to his office. The two of them began to make plans while searching for information on the internet. Zhang Chen and Lao Ju said that the text-only plan may not work. There is no way to express what you want to express clearly. It is better to draw a simple sketch, which is more intuitive and can explain the problem better. Lao Ju was in a dilemma. He said, "Your idea is good, but my individual character design is okay. If it doesn't work for me to draw such a large painting, if I have the ability, I will be the one. A painter, not a photographer." Zhang Chen said, "If you don't mind it, I can help with the drawing. It's just a sketch. It's quick and can explain the problem." Lao Ju quickly said, "How could you dislike it? It doesn't exist. It's just that Mr. Zhang worked so hard and refused to sign his name. I feel sorry for him." Zhang Chen laughed and scolded, "It's just a matter of name, it's just a little effort, and I'm very excited if I occasionally do some art." Lao Ju said, "Okay, then I will put Mr. Zhang in the acknowledgement list in the preface of the exhibition. Mr. Zhang cannot refuse." "This is your own business," Zhang Chen said. "When you become a world-famous artist like Cai Kuoqiang, I will also benefit from it." The two of them got to work. Zhang Chen took out the lead drawing paper from the cabinet, divided it into 4 pieces horizontally, and then connected them one by one with double-sided tape. According to the proportion, they also cut out more than 30 meters of paper. A long scroll. Lao Ju looked at this thick roll of lead drawing paper and asked Zhang Chen, "The project is huge, can it be completed?" Zhang Chen said yes, but if he couldn't finish it, he could do it again tomorrow, since they wouldn't arrive until the day after tomorrow anyway. As soon as Zhang Chen got started, Lao Ju felt at ease. He saw Zhang Chen holding a water pen and drawing directly on the pencil paper without even making a draft. He finished it in one go. Lao Ju praised, "Come on, Mr. Zhang. There's no other way. It's forced by circumstances." Zhang Chen laughed and said that he told Lao Ju that when he was a child, he liked to draw the most in class. The teacher wrote on the blackboard and he drew underneath. After all, he was a child and he was still panicking, so he had to draw well. Especially fast. He likes the kind of teacher who basically writes on the blackboard and talks to himself during a class. It seems that politics and history teachers like to do this the most. Later, he learned to paint. He was too poor to afford oil paints and canvas, so he went to his father's factory and painted on the plywood from the packaging boxes, using paint from the paint shop. You also know that paint dries quickly, and there is no way to change it after it is painted. All of these make him paint very quickly, and he basically completes it in one go, rarely retouching it. Lao Ju nodded and understood. The two people chatted non-stop and soon came up with a direction. They were going to lead 2,400 Continental Army soldiers from Washington, cross the Delaware River, and attack the Hessian Army to start the performance. Then Washington led the Western cowboys and gold prospectors across the Delaware River. Washington led the Southern slaves across the Delaware River. Washington led Chicago's steel workers and Detroit's assembly line workers across the Delaware River. Washington led the hippies across the Delaware River. Washington led a group of Wall Street elites in suits across the Delaware River. Washington led Hollywood stars across the Delaware River. Finally, there is the transition to Washington, who looks like Obama, leading Superman, Captain America, Thor with a war hammer, Spider-Man, Batman, Iron Man, Wonder Woman, The Flash, Spawn, the Hulk, the mutants Wolverine and Doctor Doom from the X-Men, as well as Snoopy, Donald Duck, Mickey Mouse, and a lot of Disney princesses, crossed the Delaware River in a mighty way. What is floating in the Delaware River is no longer ice, but old computers, old game consoles, old refrigerators, old washing machines and old TV sets. It is on such a river of electronic waste that Washington is crossing the Delaware River. After the plan was finalized, Lao Ju searched for these prototypes on the computer, and the two of them transformed their images, which will also be used as a reference for clay sculpture artists in the future. Then, Zhang Chen started painting. Zhang Chen remembered that this was for Americans to see. He also needed to write down Lao Ju's creative ideas and thoughts in the painting so that they could understand it at a glance. Zhang Chen called upstairs, called Su Qiaxin down, and told her to call teacher Wang. You have to go back later today. Su Qiaxin said there was no need to hit her, she was already used to it. Every day when I went back, they would go to bed early. Boss, what do you need me for? Su Qiaxin asked. Do you have anything else to do now? Zhang Chen asked. There are still 2 clients. I want to have a meeting with them, Su Qiaxin said. Zhang Chen told her what he wanted Su Qiaxin to do. Su Qiaxin said yes, then I would go up and take down the computer. I can help you with it while having a meeting with the client. Zhang Chen said yes. Lao Ju was surprised and asked, you can still do 2 things. Su Qiaxin said, yes, it can be used for 4 or 5 purposes. Lao Ju couldn't help laughing and shouted, Mr. Zhang, your company is full of talents. Su Qiaxin said, this is even better. You guys are all names. If I don't know how to spell them, I can just ask the clients I'm meeting with without having to look them up in the dictionary. The 3 of them were busy until about 11 o'clock, when Xiao Wu arrived. He had just returned from Ningbo. Zhang Chen asked him, why are you coming back so late? Xiao Wu said, tomorrow morning, at the logistics base here in Hangzhou, the Power Supply Bureau notified me that the transformer needs to be installed. How is Ningbo? Zhang Chen asked. Xiao told him that the progress was similar to that in Hangzhou. Here in Hangcheng, some workers were transferred to the electronics industrial park. New workers were temporarily unable to take over, so the progress was a bit slow. I will go back tomorrow. Discuss with Brother Tan to see if there are any other ways. It was almost 1 o'clock and 2/3 of the work was completed. Zhang Chen and Lao Ju said to call it a day and call it a day. I can finish the remaining paintings tomorrow afternoon. Let's go and have a midnight snack. 4 people went to Longxiang Bridge. The Guggenheim Museum in New York sent a total of 2 people. They arrived in Hangzhou, and Laju's video exhibition also opened, attracting many viewers. 2 experts from the Guggenheim saw Laju's video exhibition and their new plan. They greatly appreciated the plan. The 2 parties quickly decided on the exhibition matters. The Guggenheim Museum and Laju signed an exhibition contract. The time is set at the same time as the Riverside Oil Painting Gallery and the Biennale held by the Museum of Modern Art in New York, which is also November. In this way, in November, the 2 important exhibition halls on Fifth Avenue in New York, one in the north and one in the south, will be Chinese artists took over. Zhang Chen and Xiao Wu were going to Sanya. Huo organized everyone to compile their logistics base manual in Sanya. Zhang Chen called Zhang Xiangbei and asked him if he wanted to go to Sanya. Zhang Xiangbei asked Xiangnan. Xiangnan said that she couldn't go because she had to rehearse. If Xiangnan didn't go, Zhang Xiangbei wouldn't go. He was embarrassed to tell his father that it was because of Xiangnan that he could only talk to Zhang Xiangbei. Chen said, we are going to Qiandao Lake this Sunday, and the cruise ship has been booked. Zhang Chen smiled and said, what fun is there in Qiandao Lake? Zhang Xiangbei said, the main thing is to open their eyes to Sun Xiangyang, Zhou Ruyi, and Zheng Xingxin. These 3 Hangzhou guys talk about West Lake. They think West Lake is so big. Take them to see that there are 3,000 West Lakes, such a big lake. Another reason Zhang Xiangbei couldn't explain was that he felt that if they went to Sanya, it would be equivalent to leaving Xiangnan to Li go alone, and Zhang Xiangbei was not willing to do so. Zhang Chen said okay, then you can make your own arrangements. Zhang Chen hadn't been to Sanya for a long time. Cao Minfang called and said, "Mr. Zhang, you are finally going to conquer Sanya yourself. I thought you had forgotten our Sanya?" Zhang Chen quickly said, "Even if I forget Sanya, I dare not forget you, Cao Minfang." Cao Minfang laughed and scolded, "When did Mr. Zhang become so glib?" But from the phone call, it could be heard that Zhang Chen was in a good mood, which Cao Minfang thought was very good. Zhang Chen asked Xiao Wu to bring Teacher Wang, Teacher Su, and his son. Zhang Chen and Xiao Wu said, "Xiao Xian's parents will take care of your son for you every day. It's not easy for you two to be homeless. It's not easy to take them with you. Go to Sanya for fun." Xiao Wu said yes. After a group of 5 people arrived in Sanya, Cao Minfang and Huo came to pick them up at the airport. Zhang Chen asked Cao Minfang to arrange for Teacher Wang, Teacher Su, and Xiao Wu and his son to stay in the villa. He, Huo, and the bosses of the logistics base came from all over the country to stay at the Banmushan Resort Hotel. The hotel's expansion project has long been completed. Across the road, where the nursery used to be, a west building has been added. Zhang Chen and the others live in the west building. Zhang Chen and the others first sent Teacher Wang and the others to the Tropical Botanical Garden, and then to the Banmushan Resort Hotel. When they arrived at the lobby, Wenwen and Xiao Jing came over. Wenwen and Zhang Chen said, "Mr. Zhang, they said your villa is very beautiful, won't you let me touch you?" Before Zhang Chen opened his mouth, Xiao Wu said, "Okay, you go over and help me take care of my son." Wenwen agreed, "I will teach him how to pick up girls, and I will definitely train him to become the most gangster kid in the whole kindergarten." Zhang Chen smiled and said, "Then I guess you won't be able to get down the mountain. Teacher Wang and Teacher Su will fight you tooth and nail." Xiao Wu said, "I really know how to do it. When Xiao Xian is eating at home, if she says grandma, Teacher Wang's chopsticks will be on her head right away." Everyone laughed and looked at the second-hand guy. The second-hand guy knew why they were looking at him. The second-hand guy said, "You were raised by force, Xiao Wu. I never want to know your mother-in-law in this life." "Well, if you knew him, you would be confused," Wenwen said. Their logistics base manual had originally been drafted by a consulting company. After reading it, the second-hand man quickly told them to check out and get out. He and Zhang Chen said that they were forced to raise money. These people are just cheating money. A manual, most of the book is full of nonsense, and there are some messy diagrams and nouns that even I can't understand. What's the use of such a logistics base manual? Whoever holds it in his hand will feel a pain in his head, and who is willing to look at it? Damn it, I told them that this manual was written so that even stevedores could understand it, but it ended up being such a crappy thing. I scolded them that day, saying, "If anyone can even understand this, will you still work as a loader?" Zhang Chen laughed, thinking that the idiot was right. Nowadays, these consulting companies like to play tricks. If companies do what they do, they will most likely close down. 3 major disciplines and 8 points of attention governs an army of hundreds of thousands and millions of people. Is there any sentence in it that is not true? Isn't it understandable to every farmer who held a hoe yesterday and a soldier who carries a gun today? When Washington led 2,400 Continental troops across the Delaware River, he certainly did not speak a difficult language. If translated, he might have said it forcibly. Zhang Chen and Huo said, "No company can write what you want. Only if you write it yourself, using your Huo's language and the language of Xiao and Wenwen, can you ensure that even the stevedores can understand it. Therefore, there is this meeting." Zhang Chen and Huo said that another advantage of calling all the general managers from across the country to draft it was that now that the manual was written, everyone was familiar with it. "Thank you, Zhengji, for the reward of 2 fishes, one at 3 o'clock in the middle of the night. Thank you for your monthly votes from Zhengji, Hu, Tai Zongshang 1, Fan Pai's Journey to the West, Longer Hair, Book Friends 1611222135017999, 55 Hong, Listening to Sandy, Frivolous, Cowboy Grandpa, Book Friends 201809062232049334. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you all good health. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1671. Erhuo divided their logistics base manual into 6 parts: base management, employee management, customer management, logistics management, financial management, and safety management. He distributed these 6 parts to everyone and asked everyone to think about it and write down what they thought was the most important. Xiao Jin was in a dilemma. He said, "I have never written such a thing. How could I write it?" The second-rate guy scolded, "You kid, who are you kidding? When you were studying, you must have been the king of self-criticisms in the class. Just write the same as you would write a self-criticism." Xiao Jin said, "I have never written a letter of apology." "How is it possible that you are still a good student?" said the second-rate student. "Only a good student does not need to write a self-reflection letter. I was forced to do so. I copied several copies of the self-reflection letter and put them in my school bag. If the teacher asked, I would give them to you right away." "One for him." Zhang Chen said with a smile, "The teacher also told you that he can wipe your butt after you write on straw, right?" "How do you know?" "I was forced to do so." The teacher really told me that. The second-rate guy looked at Zhang Chen and suddenly laughed. "I understand, instructor, when you were studying, were you also the king of self-reflection books?" Zhang Chen chuckled, and the others also laughed. Xiao Wu said from the side, "Xiao Jin has never written a self-reflection letter. Xiao Jin is in the student class of the theater troupe. When he was disobedient in the student class, the teacher would directly poke him with a red tassel gun or spank his butt with a wooden machete. Don't letter of introspection. I know this. Our troupe was also like this at that time. In fact, he was a teacher. We called him master. He didn't know a few words himself, and he couldn't even read the self-reflection letter," Cao Minfang said. Xiao Wu said, "Yes, that's it. Our teacher was also a martial arts student, so he probably didn't know many words." The second guy said, "You're a forced child, Xiao Jin. If you can't write, I'll spank you too. By the way, if you can't write, you can draw circles." "Then I'm going to draw it from beginning to end," Xiao Jin said. Zhang Chen and Xiao Jin said, "Xiao Jin, you have to manage the base well in the future, and you still need to strengthen your cultural studies. If you are uneducated, you will be teased without knowing it, and you will be looked at as a joke by the people below." Xiao Jin nodded and said, "I understand, brother Zhang Chen." Wenwen looked at the paper in her hand and shouted, "Hero, the first rule of employee management is to take good care of your ADHD." Cao Minfang also participated in their meeting. She has experience in this area. Although her management experience is all in hotel management, hotels and logistics spaces have one thing in common, that is, they both pay special attention to on-site management. 2 days later, Zhao Jingjing and Wu Ziyawai also came. Zhao Jingjing came to help them improve their financial management and provide them with short-term financial training. Wu Ziyawai was specially invited by the second-hand goods. The second-hand goods said that Wu Ziyawai could represent them. Customers, for their customer management part, put forward their own opinions from the customer's perspective. After everyone handed in what they wrote, Ergu, Cao Minfang and Wenwen began to draft a management manual. Ergu asked Laoren to sit beside him. Ergu told Cao Minfang and Wenwen that Laoren was a stevedore and wrote it out. If you want to read something to him first, if he understands it, then that's it. If he doesn't understand it, then rewrite it. Zhang Chen also told Erhuo that he would rather be simple and emphasize the key points than go into detail. He remembered the management manual of the White Swan Hotel that he had read before. It was a thick book with more than 500 pages. Zhang Chen felt that such a manual was only used for archiving or display on the table. Will have the intention to read it? Even the few people who compiled this manual probably didn't read it all, only the part they compiled. Otherwise, the first part of the rules and regulations of each department would not be basically the same. If this were the case, wouldn't it be simpler and easier to implement a hotel-wide system? The second-rate guy said yes, instructor. As a result, it turned out that the consulting company wrote a thick book for them, with more than 300 pages, but they finished it by themselves, with only about 20 pages. Zhang Chen was very satisfied with this. He said, more than 20 pages is what we want. When a new employee comes in and gives him half a day, he will finish it. It is more than 300 pages, which is almost as thick as a college textbook. You give him half a year to study off-duty? The second-rate guy said yes, I was forced to use such a thin book, so I could ask several of their general managers to memorize it all. Xiang Nan and the others rehearse every day and don't dare to stop for a day. They have to rush to catch up with the drama performance of the Provincial Department of Culture at the end of October. After this performance, the province will select 4 theater troupes to go to Beijing to participate in the cultural performance next spring. National drama performance held by the department. As the hometown of U Opera in Zhejiang, U Opera is one of the major operas in the country. U Opera guarantees 1 or 2 natural quotas every year. The others are drama, comedy, Wu Opera, OU Opera, Wenzhou, and Ningbo Opera. Ningbo, Taizhu Luantan, Hu Opera, Huzhu, Jiaxing Flower Drum Opera, La Shuishi Opera, Kuzhu Tanhuang, and Shaoxing Lian Huoluo, etc. In comparison, Wu Opera is considered a major opera among the many local operas, and it can usually get a quota. However, because it is a major opera, there is a Zhejiang Wu Opera troupe in Jinhua. For the Yongcheng Wu Opera troupe, their biggest competitor is the Zhejiang Wu Opera troupe. They are a provincial troupe. You can imagine how difficult it is to overwhelm them. If you don't work hard, you can't do it. Xiang Nan has to rehearse every day. Zhou Ruyi and Zheng Xinyan basically spent the summer vacation in Yongcheng. Zhang Xiangbei is also here to accompany Xiang Nan. Zhang Xiangbei is here, and Sun Xiangyang will definitely be here, plus one Xiahua, the licking dog who joined on his own initiative, was not lonely this summer in Xiangnan. Although it was hard, he felt that the days passed very quickly. In mid-August, Zhang Xiangbei was about to return to the United States and prepare to register at Yale University. For the first time, Zhang Xiangbei took the next day off. He drove a car south, and Lao Zhang opened a car and rushed to Hangzhou. When we arrived in Hangzhou, we drove directly to the Tuxianjiayuan Hotel on Yan'an Road. Zhang Chen, Tan Shuhen, Chu Tianlin, Lin Shuwen, and Han Emperor Lu Bang were all here. We all wanted to practice for Zhang Xiangbei. When old Tang saw Zhang Xiangbei, he shouted, "Bai Bei, you are an adult after all. This is the first time I have seen you during the summer vacation." Wu Zaiwai said, "This is my first time too." In fact, Zhang Xiangbei went to Yongcheng soon after he came back this time. It was the first time for many people here to see him. There were a lot of people tonight, so the 3 private rooms were opened up. Wang Minsheng brought 3 cakes and milk tea. Several children were so happy when they saw it, they started fighting over the milk tea. Xiang Nan said, "I'm in Yongcheng. The most bitter thing is not having Brother Minsheng's milk tea to drink." Zhang Xiangbei said, "I am the same in the United States. And Xiaofang and I tried making it several times ourselves, but the results were very unpleasant." Wang Minsheng smiled and said, "Then when you come back next time, I will teach you how to do it." "This is not bad," Zhou Ruyi said, "after you learn it, you can open a milk tea shop at Yale and earn back your own tuition." Sun Xiangyang said, Why don't you open it in school and ask your father to apply for a license for you? If Brother Minsheng teaches me, I will drive it, Zhou Ruyi said. Wang Minsheng smiled and said, okay, you can come and learn anytime. Zhang Xiangbei doesn't need to learn how to make milk tea, Xiang Nan shouted. He told me that he is going to Yale to grow vegetables. Several children were chattering. Zhang Chen and Tan Shehen looked at them with emotion in their hearts. Tan Shehen said, Minsheng, how old were they when they ate the cake you made for the first time? In a blink of an eye, even Bai Bei will be in college. Wang Minsheng also remembered that at that time, he still had to coax Zhang Xiangbei whether he was facing south or north. But now, when he and Zhang Xiangbei stood face to face, they all had to look up to him. Liu Bang, the emperor of the Han dynasty, said, there is also a man who grew up eating Minsheng's cakes. Everyone followed his fingers and saw Xiaohu sitting there with a smile. Back home, because Zhang Xiangbei was sent to Shanghai Pudong Airport the next day, Zhang Chen had a dispute with his parents. Xiangnan, Zhou Ruyi, Zheng Xingxin, and Sun Xiangyang had agreed when they were in Yongcheng that they would go together. When sending Zhang Xiangbei to the airport, Zhang Chen meant that in this case, he and Xiao Shu could just go together. When Zhang Chen's mother heard this, she quit on the spot. She said, we are going to study in the United States. How could we not send him as a gift? Zhang Chen smiled and said, he has been studying there for a few years, and it's not like he just went there. Didn't he go back and forth in the meantime? Zhang Chen's mother scolded, how can this be the same? He went to middle school at that time, and now he is going to university. How can this be the same? Xiao Zhao's mother said from the side, yes, it's just different. Zhang Chen wanted to say something else, but Lao Zhang came over and said to Zhang Chen, your father and mother are still here, and it's not your turn to make the decision in this family. We don't care whether you go or not tomorrow, but we must go anyway. If there is a car, we will take it. If there is no car, we will drive there by ourselves. Zhang Chen was dumbfounded by them and had no choice but to compromise. Zhang Chen said okay, everyone will go, just like the first time he went to see Zhang Xiangbei off. It's different. Bai Bei was the youngest at that time, and now a younger brother comes to see off his older brother, Xiao Zhao's mother said, waving her little tree sun in her hand. Xiao Zhao's father waved to Zhang Xiangbei, and Zhang Xiangbei walked over. Xiao Zhao's father handed him a large, bulging envelope. Zhang Xiangbei opened it and took a look. Inside were small paper packages one by one. Zhang Xiangbei asked, Grandpa, what is this? Rapeseed, Xiao Zhao's father said, I wrote what kind of vegetable and when to sow it on the outside of the paper bag. Zhang Xiangbei was overjoyed. During that time, when he went to the Peach Blossom Spring with his grandfather, he asked his grandfather for it. He told Xiangnan that he wanted to grow vegetables at Yale University. He was really not kidding. After thinking about it this way, he also planned it. Anyway, Yale has plenty of land. If it fails, he can set up a club and apply for a piece of land from the school. Thank you Yuju and Dong Long Dong for your monthly votes. Thanks for all the votes and reading. Have a good evening everyone.